Good morning and welcome to Joy Prime National Dialogue with First-Time Voters. My name is Lois Shola Ademi. Now, this is an encounter between political parties and our first-time voters. I have personally had the opportunity to speak to some first-time voters who have shared with me some of the pertinent issues that will influence their decision to vote in the elections. Now, we will shortly be sharing with you some of the, stuff that came out in our conversation, highlighting some of the good things that they said and some of the not so good things as well. And we will also demonstrate to you how key first-time voters are when it comes to the elections. Now, before we do that, let me make you understand that we have with us some first-time voters and also politicians here. Our first-time voters are going to be demanding from these politicians questions and answers. And also these questions they'll be asking will help shape their decision on who they decide to vote for in the December 7th polls. Now, before we get into our conversation, let me say a very big thank you to our sponsors. Star Ghana Foundation. Let me also say a very big thank you to Youth Bridge Foundation. Also Star Ghana Foundation as well. Petrosol. The Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, together with the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, the German Ozone Medical Center, and to Chobox Technologies for making this conversation possible. And let me also say a very, very, very big thank you to Franco Trading Enterprise for holding us down. Now, as I said, our first-time voters and our politicians, both from the NDC and MPP, are ready, but I am not moderating this dialogue alone. I have with me my colleague, Kofi AJ. Hi, Kofi.
Good morning, Lois.
Good morning, handsome. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Now, Kofi, before we get into our conversation, please share with me your experiences, especially knowing that you were going to vote for the first time. Let me start with myself. So, before I, turned 18 finally, I had always been wondering, why is that every time you see a long queue, people will fight, people will push each other. And anytime people came from the elections, I was so curious. I was asking, who did you vote for? One day, my mom really hit my head and said, hey, why are you asking that question? So I was always inquisitive, waiting for my turn to vote. When I finally got the chance, I was excited because I finally, or my voice finally was going to count when it comes to the elections. Share yours.
Well, mine was in 2016 when I had the chance to, hold the voter's ID card. I was still in school. I think I had written my last paper. And thankfully, there was some mobilization for us to go to the center to do the registration. And there were long queues. But that's the time that you find the politicians, both political parties, MPP, NDC, all being nice to you and say, oh, yeah. They are all trying to find ways and means to help you get the national, the voter's ID card. For me, I knew that the ID card was beyond just voting, but it was also a good opportunity to also have the chance to vote in the 2020 election and as well the 2016 election. So it was nice when I first had the opportunity to hold the national, voter's ID card, which to me I think was like a passport to deciding who will win the national elections.
Hey. That's really nice. So we'll also be speaking to our first-time voters to find out how excited they are to finally have their voters' ID and if they even want to register, votes in the long run. But before we do that, let me make you also know that we are streaming on all our social media platforms. So please do all to join the conversation by using the hashtag #JustTurned18 and also leave a comment because we will read them right here. We are also live on Joy News, so please tune in there as well if you are free. As I said, we said earlier that we were going to be demonstrating some of the importance or the reasons why our first-time voters are significant when it comes to the presidential and presidential elections or parliamentary elections. So please take us away.
Well, so let's go to the touch screen now and do some sort of analysis in terms of the first-time voters. And if you're a youth watching us, you should be on Joy Prime and Joy News currently because this is where we are going to break down all the issues for you. So I'm going to take you to the touch screen and walk you through some of the most important issues that we need to be considering in this national dialogue when it comes to those who have just turned 18 or are youth or first-time voters. Now, I want us to look at this figure, 1.8 million people. Why is this figure important? This is the expected first-time voters according to the EC. This number is huge. If you look at the fact that there's a certain number of people who decide this country's national election, and then also for the first time we had in Parliament 137, 137, like, the Esiedun Ketia put it. So going into this year's election is beyond winning the presidential elections. It's also the parliamentary elections as well. So when you have such a big figure on the screen, 1.8 million, you should be taking a look at this critically. And I'm sure that both political parties are, trying to draw programs and then also manifestos around this huge number and factoring them into their bracket for them to win them into their fold. But beyond the 1.8 million, prospective first-time voters, according to the EC, we have about 1.4 million Ghanaians, youth, who are what? Newly registered voters. And this adds to the significant 17 million voter population that we had somewhere 2020. So we're expecting more than 19 million registered voters in the 2024 election. Massive figure. What is the NPP getting? What is the NDC getting? And also we have third forces. There's, Kwame Diako and then also Alan Tremantin, all in the race trying to cash in and then also make sure that they draw political, capital from this huge number of 1.3 million people. But beyond that, we also have some interesting data that we want to look at. If you go to the population and housing census done by the Ghana Statistical Service in 2021, the projection was that you have 2.6 million first-time voters in the 2024 election. 2.6 million first-time voters. And according to the EC, they've been able to register 1.43 million of them. That's more than 40%. All of these will be available to vote in the 2024 election. But why is this important? What are some of the issues that surround this huge number that we need to take a critical look at? Now, beyond that 2.6 million that is available in terms of the prospective first-time voters, let's do some regional breakdown of this figure and see where they are. They've joined us in the studio, but in terms of the data, in terms of what has been put out by the Ghana Statistical Service, what is the regional distribution? So let's go on the touch screen, and you see that the Ashanti region is leading with more than 500,000 first-time voters in terms of prospective ones, followed by the Greater Accra region, about 300,000. There's also the Eastern region, Central region, Western region, Northern region, the Volta region. There's also the Upper East region, and the last one being the Ahafo region. All of these comprise of the 2.6 million people that we saw, Shola. And it's interesting. Now, the political parties will be looking at this. They all know their stronghold. They all know which, region is their World Bank. And with this huge number available, there's something they call the transfer window. What is the transfer window? That's when they have the opportunity to transfer some of the votes to certain areas. I mean, I registered in somewhere, Swedro. It's not in Accra, but now I'm in Accra, so I need to transfer my vote. All of these will influence how the 2024 election actually pans out. But in terms of the 2.6 million number that we saw, Shola, it is the Ashanti region that has the biggest component, more than 500,000. Now, beyond that, there's also what determines the election. So we've been looking at the margin of win from in the 2020 election. Okay. What did it take the NPP to win the election? What was the margin? And if you look at the margin, some 6.6 million in terms of the NPP got 6.6 million votes, NDC 6.1 million votes, and the margin was just about 500,000. The Ashanti region alone has more than 500,000 first-time voters or prospective first-time voters. That tells you that just at 10-18, they have the momentum to change the election. Because I always say that this is the NPP will be looking for their third term. The NDC is hoping to bounce back from a heavy defeat in 2016. All of this is, you see the economy not doing so well and all of that. So people already, there's apathy in the system. Okay. So it has to do with the two political parties must take strategies to make sure that they're able to convince this huge number of 2.6 million people. Where would they be voting? Because most of them are fresh in the system and all of that. In terms of the margin of win, in terms of political parties change, in 2020, the 2000 election, we saw more than 881,000 margin of win. 2008, when we saw the runoff was determined by just 84,000 votes. just 84,000 votes. So that tells you that you need to take, political capital from the available 2.6 million first-time voters. 2016, we saw 984,000 margin of win, and in 2020, it reduced to more than 500,000. I am projecting, or if you look at the figures, it tells you, if you look at all the national elections right from 1992, it tells you that whenever a government is done serving their second term, the election heats up. And all the time, you are likely to have a runoff if you do not have voters swinging in your direction. And so the first-time voters, just like I said, will be very key in determining, who will win the election. But beyond all of these critical figures that we've spoken about, there's this figure that I want us to take a look at.
Okay.
2 million youths who are mostly first-time voters anyway. They are neither employed, they are not in training, neither are they in education. This is what the Ghana Statistical Service calls the NEET.
Okay.
These people are not employed, Shola. They are not in training, or neither are they in school. 2 million of them. If you compare this to the prospective first-time voters, that's about 2.6 million. And this, we are looking at an age range of 15 to 35 years. Majority of them are unemployed, and majority of them are also first-time voters or just turned 18, 2 million. So the two political parties, how are they going to draft their manifestos and policies to make sure that they address the plight of these 2 million Ghanaians who are neither employed, not in education or training? Now, I want us to take a look at this because the first-time voters are here. They will be looking at the two parties and their track records to determine where they will cast their ballots or their votes. And we've been looking at the data right from 2000 to 2023, third quarter, Shola. And I want us to take a look at this in terms of where both political parties, and I'm glad that we have the NPP and the NDC in studio. They'll be explaining why we have such a high youth unemployment in this country. And this according to the World Bank data and also data that we picked from the Ghana Statistical Service. The Ghanaian youth population who are neither employed, not in training or education. And this is significant and scary at the same time. Why? Because the national security actually sees youth unemployment as a key threat to the security of the country. And so if you have the unemployment rate in terms of the youth, they are not in education or neither are they employed or training, still being around 18%, that's something that needs to have a national dialogue, and I'm glad we are having it today. But in terms of the trend, 2000, the NPP was in power. And if you look at those who are not employed, youth, not employed, not in education, not in training, the figure was around 30.4%. That's from the NPP, Shola.
Yeah.
2000. Now, 2006, just before they left office in 2008, this figure reduces from 30.4% to now 26.9%. And when the NDC took over, by 2010, they had reduced it further to 20.20%. And in 2013, before they lost power in 2016, we saw it being around 14.1%. That's a significant drop, right from 30 to 14. Then just before they left office, see what happens. It moves again from 14% to 25.6%. And the NPP also came in power. They reduced it to 23%. And in 2022, we saw the average rising to 27.7%. That's the highest after 2006. And if you look at this, this is the current figure, just put out by the Ghana Statistical Service in terms of the third quarter of 2023. What is the magnitude of our youths who are mostly first-time voters, who are neither employed, not in education or not training? What is the rate? That's about 18.2%. It means that the first-time voters that we have, there's high probability that if we sample 10 of them, 2 of them are not employed, not in education or not in training. That's a security threat to the country, and just like the national security put it. Now, let's look at the regional breakdown of this number of people who are unemployed or not in training or education. The Big Five. I call them the Big Five. We are in the Greater Accra region, and we know how significant Accra is in terms of being the swing region. The Ashanti region is the vote bank of the NPP. Okay. It is second when it comes to the total number of Ghanaian youth who are in the NEET bracket. Greater Accra is leading with more than 567,000 people who are not in education, not employed, or not in training. These are youth, followed by the Ashanti region, the Central region, which is also a swing region, Eastern region, usually NPP, Western region, a swing. So what happens? You have 3 swing regions in this big 5 bracket, having significant number of their youths who are not employed, not in education, or not in training. Greater Accra region, Central region, East, Western region. 3 of them, so significant to how the election will pan out. So we are glad to have the political parties in studio to tell us their policies, how they are going to address this. Now, let's look at this trend. This is our current situation. And we've seen a number of our youth leaving the country because of the current economic circumstances. This is not the first time we are having this. In 2015, we saw the same thing happen, and we also saw what happened in 2016. We are not trying to project the election, but what we are trying to say is that the youth, I'm sure, will be looking at inflation. The youth, I'm sure, will be looking at how easily they can get jobs. The youth, I'm sure, will be looking at corruption, corrupt activities, and all of that. And you had interactions with them, and we've been saying some of the things that they've been saying in terms of what they want. Those who just turned 18. It's unfortunate that technology is failing us. But those who are actually, sort of disabled feel they have been left out of this whole thing. And we understand that according to the Global Info Analytics, in the 2024 general election, issues surrounding economics, jobs, are going to determine who will win the election. Those who have just turned 18 and are first-time voters, they are here today because they want to listen to both political parties and see what they can offer them in terms of after they win power in 2024. Yeah. Is inflation going to come down? Are they going to get employed? And if they are sitting idle, are there policies to make sure that they are into lucrative and productive use? And so these are some of the issues that we will be looking at in terms of those who have just turned 18. We've run through some of the key and important statistics that both political parties will be taking a look at and addressing. Just turned 18, they are in studio with us. They've seen the numbers. They know their power. And they know how they can determine the fortunes of both political parties. And so I'll hand over to you for us to continue the conversation. 2.6 million Ghanaian youth are actually prospective first-time voter population. And I mean, when we come back from this short break, we will be going deep into the conversation, trying to interrogate some of these numbers and letting our viewers know how important this national dialogue is. 2.6 million Ghanaians who are prospective first-time voters. The EC has already registered 1.43 million of them. After this short break, I'll be joined by Lois to interrogate these issues.
All right, so you are welcome back to Joy Prime National Dialogue with First-Time Voters. And as I said, our first-time voters are in there. Before we went on the break, Kofi demonstrated how important our first-time voters are when it comes to the elections. I heard you say that 2.6 million first-time voters will be participating in the elections, meaning that if these people decide to vote for Party A, the possibility that Party A will win is
so
very
high.
big. It's very high, meaning that they are very important. And that's why the national dialogue we're having right now is very important. Before we get into our conversation or kickstart our conversation, let's say a very big thank you to our sponsors for holding us down. Let's say a big thank you to Youth Bridge Foundation. Also, let's say a very big thank you to Star Ghana Foundation, to SIMA, to AICPA as well. Let's say a big thank you to the German Ozone Medical Center, to Petrosol, to the Chobox Technologies for also holding us down, and to Franco Trading Enterprise for all the good things they've helped us do right here on the show. Now, Kofi, we have people in studio. As I said, our first-time voters are ready. They are poised. In fact, itching. A number of them called me and said, I cannot wait to be sitting in the studio because I want my questions.
Hard questions.
Oh, please. So please introduce our guests.
Well, in fact, we've been able to get a sample of these 2.6 million people in studio. Our first-time voters, I would like to welcome them first. You welcome to the Joy Prime National Dialogue, just turned 18. You are the prospective first-time voters, and we are glad to have you in studio. They are going to be asking the hard questions. And on this side, the politicians, I mean, the top guys are here going to do the answering. So if you have any hard question, don't face me, don't face Shola, but it should go to this direction. You've seen the numbers on the screen, and I know that you are going to ask them questions and we are going to interrogate these numbers. And so, I mean, in studio, we've been joined by the two bigwigs from the two political parties. Osman Ayariga, who is the Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NPP, is here with us. And I see he's been writing. NDC is here with us. And you can't be, your blood can't be blue, eh? It's always green, absolutely. I mean, I saw him write a lot in terms of the figures, and I know that he is poised to answer most of the questions. And also my namesake, Isaac J. Hyde of the NPP, is also in studio. He's the National Deputy Youth Organizer of the NPP. You bleed blue, right?
I mean, you were speaking his dreams when we were both in school, but I mean, it's okay. We are going to have a good time.
All right, gentlemen, you're welcome. And this is the Just Turned 18 National Dialogue. We've seen the figure, 2.6 million prospective first-time voters. And thankfully, we've been able to sample a number of them in the studio to ask you questions. But first of all, I would like to, you also turned 18 some time ago. So I'd like to start with, like, how was the feeling like and what were you expecting?
I mean, I think that for every young person, turning 18 feel like you are getting legalized into certain areas that you've always been waiting for. Especially when you are going to school. I mean, everybody anticipates the age of 18. But of course, as you go ahead, the reality dawns on you that, I mean, life is about decisions, it's about choices, and it's about, I mean, being responsible for yourself. I mean, in the area of elections, I mean, it's also an opportunity for you to be part of the decision-making process. I think that for us as the NPP, we have demonstrated capacity and we have shown that we are committed to the cause of the youth. And I'm believing that come what may, the over 1.8 million people who have registered are going to support the NPP in breaking the 8.
Well, so you want to break the 8 with the first-time voters, right?
Most definitely.
Absolutely. Osman?
Yes, thank you very much. I was extremely excited when I turned 18, although I've been always part of the political exercise in terms of from SRC to secondary school to university. I've always been part of decision-making. I've never sat back and watched people decide for me.
Okay.
As far as my life is concerned, I've always wanted to be part of decision-making. So turning 18 just meant I was also going to be part of decision-making in this country. And that is why I'm excited for all the young people who have turned 18. Let's not just turn 18 and decide that we don't want to be part of decision-making. If you are young and you're 18 and you don't take part in actually taking decisions for this country, excuse me to say, people would go and take decisions for you and you do not have the right to complain. So we should be part of decision making. It's good young people are turning 18 and it's good young people get interested in the politics of the day. It is good young people get interested in who actually governs them, how they govern them, and how they want the country to be. That is why we in the NDC believe that for us to have 1.8 million young people, it is a step in the right direction. It just means that you have many more young people interested in contributing to the decision making so far as elections is concerned. But what is even scarier is the fact that we have 1.9 million unemployed young people out there. That is extremely
They're not just unemployed, they are not in training.
They are not in
school,
training.
not in
Yes, I
education.
mean that they are not even employable.
Yeah.
You know, that is even scarier. And that is why we believe that with all the policies we have put in place, we have done it before. We've tried as much as possible to beat down the unemployment rate of this country. At a point, it was even at 8.4%, which at the time was around 600,000 people who were not in education, who were not employed, and who didn't have any form of income. But today, what numbers are we looking at? 1.9, almost 2 million young people. It is unacceptable for a country as small as Ghana with a population of about 28 to 30 million people. And that is why when you look at the NDC's policies, we are looking at how we can put young people at the helm of affairs, how we can put young people at the center of running this country, and how we can make sure young people are able to fend for themselves.
We believe that
we'll
come to the policies.
I was just coming to my first time voters because unlike Hyde and Osman, you guys haven't voted before, but you have your register or your voter's ID ready. Let me find out from you, Eugenia, how did you feel when you got your card for the first time?
Okay, I felt I'm an adult now and I can I can take part in political decisions. I can make decisions for myself and know my rights. It's part of our right. So voting is, I felt like a full citizen of Ghana. Yeah, so that is how I felt.
All right, let's go to Dorcas. Please introduce yourself so we know you. And then you share your experience with me. How was it?
Okay, good morning, everyone, and thanks for this opportunity. My name is Dorcas Delali Luchu. I was very excited when I turned 18 because I realized that was a time for me to make choices for myself and not follow the crowd. Yeah.
All right, now I see Niai. The ladies have spoken. Niai, share your experience with me.
We'll come back this way, right?
Okay, actually, I was very happy when I was given the chance to get registered. So I joined the queue. The queue moved slowly, but actually I got my card and I was like, wow, me too, I'm now a citizen of the country. I can also cast my votes, take part in decision making, and also people are not going to take decision for me anymore.
All right, all right. Now let me end with Joseph. Joseph, you finally have the card. What's next for you? What are you expecting?
What am I expecting?
Yes, exactly.
So definitely I'm going to vote, and I feel very excited about the process because since basic school we've been learning about elections, governance and all of that, and then I was not able to participate in it up till this point. So I feel very excited and I'm very enthused about it. I really want to participate because I feel like I am now a significant citizen. My vote counts. So
I like the word significant.
My vote counts.
I mean, I told you they are ready.
Yes.
Very, very ready. And Kofi, this is when we sit back and let them do the talking, the questions. And I hope Osman and Hyde are ready. People are ready. They've been gymming since yesterday.
Wow.
Gymming with questions.
Yes, with questions waiting for you. So I hope you're ready. Who wants to go first? The floor is open. Yes, you can. You can, Joseph.
Okay, good morning. When he was speaking, he made mention of about 1.9 million people not being employed, not being trained, not being educated, and all of that. And please, I want to come argue from a perspective and put my questions. Those 1.9 million people, they are a burden to someone. You know, in this country, the dependency ratio is very high. We have few people in the working class taking care of a lot of people who are not employed, their children, and then their parents. And then there is inflation. Inflation is so high, like it's skyrocketing, and it's scary in this country. I'm not, when I say these things, I don't blame it on only the current government. It's previous administrations and their errors that has gotten us to this point. So inflation is very high. People receive lower salaries. And out of that salary, they have to take care of the about 7 to 8 or 9 people in their family or people that depend on them. And it's frustrating. It's stifling the average Ghanaian worker is suffering. I'm not working, but I hear stuff. I know what people are going through. And so, even if one of these factors, unemployment, the wage rate, or inflation, if one of them were to be tackled or dealt with, at least the Ghanaian would have been relieved.
All right, so let's get to the question. What exactly do you want to know?
I want the politicians to tell me that, especially with the wage rate, the salary increase, because it's very important to me. Because even if they can't solve unemployment urgently, there are lots of people depending on the few working class. And so what are they going to do to at least increase their salary? Something that's an urgent thing that has to be attended to. What are they going to do to increase the salaries of these few working class so that they can be relieved and peacefully take care of huge people they've been burdened with, whilst we wait for them to maybe devise a strategy to curb the unemployment situation?
All
Yeah.
right. So we go to Hyde first. Hyde, the question has been thrown to you.
So that's a very good question. And I think for every young person, irrespective of the political party, or even if you are non-aligned, it's very important for you to be concerned about the cost of living, or let's say the wage bill. However, you also mentioned the issue about dependency. Culturally, Ghanaians are responsible for ourselves. So we all have Wafa or uncle who is responsible for us, and even in times when parents cannot do. When you talk about the NPP as a political party, recognizing some of these things is very important. And so government, beyond the salary, nobody's salary is enough to take care of everybody. So even beyond salary, there are certain government interventions that helps shift burdens of parents. Imagine if you belong to a household that has 10 young people who have finished high school, or even in primary school going to senior high school. It means that we need to pay their BEC fees for them. It may be falling on this uncle who is the only person who is working. That person would have to be paying school fees at the senior high school level. Government has seen this responsibility in taking up the cost of BEC registration. If any of you attended any public school, you've written your BEC, then I'm pretty sure that you have been a beneficiary of such an intervention. It is a particular direct benefit to you, but it also shift burden off your uncle or your relative who could have done that. Then, of course, if you enter the senior high school level as well, that is where free SHS come in. Maybe for some of you, you are privileged, you are coming from homes where your moms are bankers or anything. But I have been to a time where I have roommates who come to school without even parents knowing how they got to the school. Maybe if you even sample me, I'm from Jamestown, British Accra. If we can go and look through history, I may be the seed person who has been on TV before. I'm telling you this because where I come from, education is what makes the difference between myself and my colleagues out there. I'm telling you this because government, beyond introducing the increment of about 23% increase in salary, there's never been a time where salaries have been able to take care of everybody's problem. In fact, as a matter of fact, research has also indicated that if you're earning 20,000 Ghana cedis today and your salary increases overnight to 50,000, within a period of time, you get to a point where you still want an increment in salary.
So net off.
So the solution is not necessarily a salary per se, but the interventions that government makes over time to make sure that it cushions citizens from the effects of some of these things. And I think that we should go beyond just the numbers that are put out there to identify the relative or immediate things that affect us directly. Maybe you have a roommate or a colleague who probably depends on you over time. You ask yourself, how would this person have been able to make it to the university but for the intervention of some of these initiatives? And that is what the NPP has done in order to cushion some of you. Thank you very much.
All right, Osman.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. And if I get the direction of his question, what basically he's trying to talk about has to do with the mismanagement of this economy. The mismanagement of this economy because you wake up in the morning, prices of goods are at 1 cedi. By afternoon, the same prices of the same goods have risen up to about 1 cedi 50 pesos. And that is unacceptable. And that is why he's trying to tell you that the salaries are unable to take people beyond or even to the 30 days that they receive the next salary. And that's why we talk about people being underemployed. You are employed, but what you take as wages or salaries cannot actually take care of you. Assuming you work at Joy FM here and you stay somewhere at Adenta and you're earning, I'm not saying that's what you earn, and you earn maybe 1,000 cedis. 1,000 cedis every month cannot take you from Adenta to Joy FM for the next 26 days. You are employed, but you are underemployed because your salary cannot take care of you. It is not your fault. It is not the fault of Joy FM, but it's the fault of some incompetent person who has been unable to manage the economy. It is unacceptable for us to be in the country called Ghana, for inflation to be at 54%. And you try to bring it down to 25, 24%, and you say we should applaud you. It is unacceptable. And when Ghanaians decide to complain or ask questions, why you have inflation so high, the only response they tell you is either COVID or it's Russia or it's Ukraine war. And that is highly unacceptable. If you're able to manage this country to the extent that inflation is at a very reduced figure, interest rates are at reduced figures, the exchange rate is also at a reduced figure, you will not need some continuous increment in your salaries. We see in other countries where people live basically on their salaries and they are very comfortable. You go to the United States, you go to the United Kingdom, somebody earns a certain amount of money. He knows that at the end of the month, this is the figure for my groceries. This is the figure for my rent. This is the figure or amount for my fuel. He is able to plan ahead because he knows that in the next 25 days or in the next 30 days, prices of goods and services are not going to increase astronomically. And that is what we are facing here. My brother and his political party came with all the noise that they knew how to manage this economy and that the money is in this country. We should hand over this country to them. We should try them. What have we seen? All we've seen is excuses upon excuses upon excuses. What I can assure young people is that we, under the NDC, we have managed this country before. We've been able to manage inflation for a very long time. For a year-run, inflation was around 15%. And that was our highest so far as inflation is concerned. We are not saying that has been the best, but at least our best or even our worst is even better than their best because we have never seen inflation at 54%. And for people who may not understand in terms of the figures and what we're talking about, what it simply means is that if you used to buy a phone at maybe 2,000 Ghana cedis, if inflation goes up to about 54%, what it means is that the next day you're going to buy the phone at 3,000 Ghana cedis or even more. That is what inflation is all about.
Osman, now beyond the numbers, beyond the increase, decrease, stability and all of that, beyond the numbers, there are actually structural issues that, it exposes the Ghanaian economy to some external and foreign shocks. We are looking forward into the next years, into the future. And this first-time voters are not here to listen to possibly blame games, right? You want to know what will be done, what are some of their policies. I'm speaking of structural issues because you can put in place beautiful policies, but if you do not, tackle the structural problems, we're still going to have the same cyclical movement. And so what is the NDC going to put in place to make sure that his question of high dependency ratio and the fact that, people are having their disposable incomes dwindling each year, right? And by day, how are you going to address this, Osman?
Yes, even before I go into addressing the issues, it is imperative that they know where we came from as a country and where we are and where we are going. And that's why I needed to take them through.
So where are we going, Osman?
Yes. Now, where we're going is what we call the game changer from the NDC. We have continuously told Ghanaian people that it is time for us to implement the 24-hour economy. We cannot continue to run an 8-hour economy and expect dividends of a huge economy such as the United Kingdom, the United States. We cannot. We have told Ghanaians that it is time for us to industrialize. It is time for us to expand. It is time for us to work around the clock. We cannot, as I said, you cannot work from 8 to 5 or 8 to 4 and expect the dividends of a country like China, which is working all day long around the clock. Cities like London in UK, they are working 24 hours. The economy is running.
4 years enough to implement, 24-hour economy with all these structural problems?
We don't even need 4 years to implement 24-hour economy. What you need is a day to implement it. Then it keeps running. Then as and when there are issues, you restructure it, you reorganize it, and you see how you can add certain inputs or certain auxiliaries.
I want to go to the powerhouse and ask them a very simple question. 24-hour economy is almost everywhere. Do you believe in the 24-hour economy?
Who is talking to us? Joseph.
Okay. the 24-hour economy, we will say it's very, very good policy.
Please put your...
But the question is, how are they going to implement it?
So he has a very direct question.
Yeah.
Beautiful policy,
But
but how are
how
you
is it
going
going
to
to be done?
implement it?
There are so many ways of implementing the 24-hour economy based on the sector or based on the sector of the economy that we're looking at. Example, when you talk about manufacturing, example, pharmaceuticals, the first thing we're going to do is the reduction of the cost of power for companies that have decided to implement the 24-hour economy. And that will also serve as an incentive to so many manufacturing companies to work 24 hours or around the clock. What we're going to do is that we're not going to shift people from production during the day into the night. That doesn't mean they're going to have a reduced power purchase. Well, any company, example, Joy FM or any other company that decides to go 24 hours beyond the normal working hours, that's the 8 to 5 p.m., any other hour that you work, you are able to purchase power at a reduced price, which will be implemented through the 24-hour economy. There's going to be tax waivers for companies that will implement the 24-hour economy. And we're going to also make sure that there's huge export for companies or manufacturing companies that will implement the 24-hour economy. Because what it means is that you're now going to produce beyond the demand within this local environment. Then government will have to produce some incentives to enable you to export, so far as manufacturing is concerned. So the 24-hour economy is doable. People try to let it look like it is so complicated. It is not complicated. It's just a policy that government needs to push forward, that we want manufacturing companies, we want certain companies, certain essential providers to work 24 hours. Now, if you are going to work 24 hours, what it means is that if you were employing, say, maybe 30 people to do the work for you from 8 to 5 p.m., now, you are most likely to employ about 90 people. What it means is that you have first 30 working from 8 to about 5. You have another 30 working from about 8 to 1 a.m. And you have another 30 again working from about 2 a.m. to the next 8 a.m. in the morning. So you realize that instead of just employing 30 people, you're going to end up employing 90 people to produce more for you. And if you're able to produce more, then government is able to put incentives in place for you to even export more, so far as the production is concerned.
Before we take our next, we'll come back to you, Osman,
Yeah.
but before we take our next question, we're streaming on all our social media platforms, so please join the conversation using our hashtag #JustTurned18. And also, please give us a like, follow all our social media platforms at Joy Prime TV. We're also live on Joy News, so please do well to join us. But yes, Kofi, Osman has spoken at length. We are taking our next question. Who is ready with our next question? Esther? Are you ready to ask?
Yes.
All right, please, Esther. Introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Esther. My question is, we want to vote. So what are, what are the measures put in place to ensure the safety of persons with disability during election?
Okay.
So who is going to answer that? I mean, we saw the analysis, especially those with disability feel they've been left out.
Right.
And I mean, if you just turned 18 and you now have the voter's ID card, you want some sort of assurance. So I would like to start from you, Isaac. What people with disability and all of that, she's asking, what should they expect from you in terms of, sharing the national cake?
While I find it important, I think it's necessary for me to correct a certain, incorrectness or inconsistency that I mean. It is only the NPP that has in recent times achieved a single-digit inflation, which was in 2021, which was 9.9%. He was here saying that their best is our worst is their best or something like that. I think that he also owes these young people the truth. What I'm saying is that he can, state whether what I'm saying is true. It is only the NPP who in recent times has achieved single-digit inflation. And so when we talk about the government that is capable of dealing with the challenges of these Ghanaian people, it is only the NPP. Then again, he also spoke about the need for us to go 24 hours and other things. What preparatory measures do we have in place? How many engineers have you trained? We have ensured that we are introducing STEM into the system. We have ensured that with free SHS, we are bringing in more students.
You introduce free SHS without doing some
but
sort
in
of...
between, within overnight, we have over 1,000 structures springing up across the country.
They can't do the same?
No, what they are saying, you see, when you talk about when it comes to building factories and their demands and other things, it's different from In any case, when we talk about free SHS, we already had a backlog of teachers. In the introduction of free SHS, you ensure that you had employment of over 100,000 people into GES.
You still have
You see,
issues with
food
and food
it's not
supply.
about fanciful sloganeering and then it's not about how many of them can get up and go into a bush and say they are going to inject a lion, as they've made us believe? How many of them can go about there and say that they are going to look for zebras and other things in a certain bush?
I think we should.
I think that the reality
move
must
forward.
be.
Dorcas asked
Then
a very
again, about
important
Dorcas's question,
yes.
I think that we all need to understand the importance of persons with disability in this country. Over 2 million persons with disability are within the contemplation of the discussion we are having. It is under the NPP in 2006 that we introduced the Disability Act, so that every public building will be disability friendly. So if you are a person that cannot walk and you're on a wheelchair, it is after the passage of that bill that you could see that all banks and other buildings will have a slide so that people can be put up there. If you go to a washroom, beyond what you have for the general public, there's a particular disability-friendly one. It is only the NPP that has within its secretariat a directorate for disability persons, so that we recognize that these are important persons that we are going to engage. Our flag bearer has made it clear that when he's given the mandate to the president of this country by the good people of Ghana, we are going to ensure that all persons with disability are going to go to the university for free, because we recognize the importance of these particular challenged people in our society. Beyond these things, you can see the number of interventions that we have done. Go to Ikuapem School of the Blind. We have made interventions there and ensure that structures have been built to support these people. The number of braille that we have made available for people who cannot see. If you are even looking at Legon, around the Legon enclave, when the road was being constructed, it's one of the first times that we introduced a bypass or a walkway for persons who are either being on bicycle or people who are having certain challenges relative to themselves. It is only the NPP that has demonstrated capacity and consistency in ensuring that every person is captured within the bracket. If you go to YEA recently has introduced a mechanism that persons who are disabled are captured within the framework of YEA intervention. Some of them have been taken into factories. Under President Kufuor, we even had instances where people who are disabled are working in chop factories. This is a government that thinks about people like that.
Well Dorcas, Esther, your assurance is that you go to the university for free. But it was this same government that, you scrapped road tolls.
Right.
She's looking for assurances. Road tolls was employed by persons with disability. You scrapped it. Most of them are unemployed. You promised to pay them benefits. They've not been paid. So how does Esther have the assurance that the promise of they going to the university for free is assured?
As I speak to you, no person who lost his job by the scrapping of road tolls is unemployed. Under the YEA, this is verifiable data. Under the Youth Employment Agency.
How do we check that?
You can Google it. Youth Employment Agency.
Google is very big.
So I am saying that. So I've given you a specific agency for you to check from. I'm saying that the Youth Employment Agency has absorbed all persons who were affected by the closure of the toll booths across the country. And that is a direct employment benefit. I am not saying that every solution can be handled overnight, but the NPP time and again has demonstrated that we are dealing with specific issues at specific times. You can verify. I believe that right here and then, you just go to the YEA website and check about the situation. A number of them have also been pushed into certain factories which have been coming up through the 1D1F.
So I cannot get a single person who suffered a job loss.
I'm saying that all persons
very
who are affected.
All persons.
Yeah, because there were a specific number of people who are affected. There have been engagements. In fact, they even petitioned government at some point in time about their plight. Government indicated to them that, a transition process is being put in place to ensure that they are put on the mainstream. Today, as I speak to you, the Youth Employment Agency, one of the game changers of this particular government, which was different from the SADA, the NDC corruption that they were doing, where they take the money of the youth. Unfortunately, my colleagues here, I call them my colleagues because I'm a former student leader. Yeah. Interestingly, both of us are former presidents of the National Union of Ghana Students. I call them colleagues because maybe they were too young to know what happened during the NDC's era. The number of scandals. I was telling him, he was asking me that in the Upper East region, where he hails from, what is the government's 1D1F initiative that has happened there? Today, as I speak to you, we have two projects coming up in the Upper East region. We have the Sorogo Leather Factory, and then we have in Bongo, another factory which is coming up at that place.
Are the dams still functioning?
No, we are talking about 1D1F. We can go into the dams. Okay. But specifically, in that same region, whether they unconfirmed, I'm sure they know what is unconfirmed. Guinea fowl. We were made to believe that the youth of this country, our money will be put into guinea fowl. That is why a lot of the youth are laughing at President Mahama when he talks about Nkoko Nkiti, because they are wondering which of the Nkoko. The guinea fowl passed through Paga, right at his backyard into Burkina Faso. Today I have informed him, we are going to put in place mechanisms to build a factory there and be processing guinea fowl. Because the last time I went to Zebila, I saw that people were processing guinea fowl. And I was wondering whether it was coming from the ones that ran away or there are new ones which are being bred. But Osman will probably help us with that answer. Thank you.
All right, so this is where we part ways with our Joy News viewers. They would be interviewing Joyce Bauer in there, but we'll continue the conversation here. Our next question, who is asking that? I see Niayi's hand.
Okay, so I'm so happy when Mr. I said he's from Jamestown. I'm also a Jamestown boy.
Okay.
So my question goes like this to both of them. So you are from Jamestown. You are saying that Jamestown is not a place that needs roads, or maybe let me say infrastructure that much. But the youth there really needs work to do. And when they were mentioning the figures, they mentioned that because of the huge figure of unemployment, it has now become a national security threat.
Yeah.
And when you go to Jamestown, it is all over there. Those who are into smoking, picking people things around and all those things because they are not really working. And about the 24-hour economy, should this policy be implemented, I think these people too will get something because most of them are well-qualified people. The last time I talked with Lois when she came around, I mentioned a number of people who are having their degrees, having their masters, their diplomas, and they are sitting in the house. And because of no job, people think Jamestown is just a group of people who are not willing to be educated or willing to do something for themselves. But these are people who have really fought hard to make life for themselves through education. But at the end of the day, they come and sit in the house with their certificate. So he coming from Jamestown, what is his government doing about the people at Jamestown? And what about the NDC who have been in power or who have been taking the parliamentary mandate for more than 20 years in Odo? What have they done for the youth in Jamestown? And what is his government also coming to do for the youth in Jamestown?
Right, so, as he said, I was there in Jamestown and spoke to them, not only him, but a number of them, and they all raised the same concerns about the fact that they finished school, all right, they have degrees. Even some have gone further to, have their masters, and they're all sitting home. They are not doing anything, and people sit and assume that the youth in Jamestown do not want to work. So how is the MPP going to solve that for them?
Well, you see, track record is very important when it comes to discussions of this nature. And I invite my colleagues once again. Sloganeering and flamboyant promises is never the solution to the challenges that we face as a youth. I recognize the challenge that my brother from Jamestown has mentioned. But it is under this government that the NPP has built a harbor, a fishing harbor for the people of Jamestown. Because fundamentally, we the people of Jamestown are fishermen.
Is it operational?
No. So it is ready, about to be launched. I mean, I'm sure I've seen videos from your outfit about people going there and all that. So that is one aspect. I'm coming.
Not to cut you, but I've still spoken to people who say this harbor exists, right? But people go there and they still do not get their employment there. And you have to know someone to be able to get. So nepotism plays a very big role when it comes to this harbor.
I think that nepotism, tribalism, and all these things, they are exclusive. But at the end of the day, if you go to the harbor, there are Ghanaians and Jamestown people who have been employed there. Maybe you would wish that we employ 1 million people, but no solution can cater for all our problems immediately. What is important and realistic is that there's a harbor which has been built in Jamestown, and ultimately when it becomes operational, when the government, commissions it by the end of next month, I believe that a number of our people will be employed over there. It is not the total solution to every problem. Unemployment is not limited to Jamestown. A number of us are going to school because government has introduced policies. I'm saying that 1.4 million people have been able to go to senior high school. 1.4 million people. For me, who probably have had a breakthrough through education to be somewhere, I am not too comfortable where I am because I have to be responsible for my colleagues who ordinarily didn't have that opportunity. Because those who end up on the streets, if we don't find a solution to their plight, they may threaten the peace of our security in our homes. So collectively, we have a responsibility. When we are creating employment, it is also on to us because sometimes you also meet people, you want to offer them jobs and say, oh, I don't have the certificates, I'm not qualified. I think that government is introducing 1D, 1F. Today, as I speak to you, over 298 projects have been sprung across the country. Out of this, over 120 of them are functional.
1D, 1F?
I'm telling you. And we can go into the specifics. I mean, sometimes, you may try to belabor a number of the points.
Do you have any colleague, family member who has actually benefited from the 1D, 1F?
Okay, so in my constituency, I can't mention anyone.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. I'm not sure my brother knows everybody in Ododo, but the projects must not necessarily also be in Ododo. But this is where we need to also understand something.
Do you have a 1D, 1F in Ododo?
I'm coming.
Okay.
Ododo falls under the Ashiedu Keteke Sub-Metro District, which is AMA. So it is not only Ododo. It includes Ablekuma South. It includes Okankwe South. So it is quite a larger area. There are a number of projects which are coming up. If you go to industrial area...
So they are now coming up?
No, a number of them are already functional. People are benefiting. If you go to industrial area, there are factories which have been partnered under the 1D, 1F project. That is employing people. But the point that I'm making is that 1D, 1F is exclusive. What people do not get is that all of us do not have to be under government payroll for us to be considered employed. Few years ago, in the early 2000s, maybe they may not be aware, what every person needs in order to do business was to own a container. You probably see on our sidewalks, everybody putting up a container. Through digitalization, today the GPS you used, somebody sat down and thought it wise that we need a GPS so that you can sit in your home and say that I'm going here. In introducing GPS, what it means is that people are cooking in their homes and selling online. They don't need a shop. They don't need serious capital. People are selling, if you go on Snapchat, if you go on Instagram, people are selling all kinds of accessories. They are very much aware. And they don't need all the extravagant capital. And people are making a lot of money. People are doing social media influencing. All these are forms of employment. We need to understand that government also has a responsibility to create a conducive ecosystem so that our young people can take advantage of. And that is what these governments have been noted for. Government does not need to create employment for everybody. It must also create a form where the private sector and individuals can use their initiative to employ people. I set one last example. Chicken Man. I mean, all of you, have you enjoyed Chicken Man? Chicken Man is one of the largest food enterprises in this country today. Are you aware? Probably right at your backyard, you see one. It is one of the ecosystems which you call the presidential pitch under the NEIP, that a young person presented an idea that we think we can do this. They started it at KNUST. I also invite them. They may have some of these brilliant ideas. Government is ever ready. That is why the agencies are there to support them. Somebody sat down and said that I have this idea, pitches it into the NEIP project and received support funding. Today, it is expanding and employing a lot of people. These are some of the things that we should be pushing out there.
One of their problems is that you are giving tax exemptions to big companies from outside and monies that you could have used to set up and facilitate their employment and all of that, you are giving it to foreign people as tax exemptions.
Yes, I have maintained, once again, that government does not have to employ everybody. When you give a tax waiver to somebody, first of all, it's a foreign company that is bringing foreign direct investment in Ghana. So the foreigner that you are giving that tax incentive, it is not just MPP that is giving tax incentive. NDC has done the same. It is with a certain intent that those companies are bringing in a lot of money to come and open factories that will employ that's very Ghanaian that you are talking about. If you go to Tema, we have the Free Zones Enclave, a particular place which is designed so that goods that are being produced from that enclave is exported out of the country to help with the balance of payment issues. In that factory, there will be a need for accountants, there will be a need for electricians, there will be a need for engineers. Our people who are graduating, they will be employed there. At the end of the day, when you give that tax incentive, it's not because you are dashing money. I think that we need to disabuse our mind out of that. It is because you want to give an opportunity where somebody is coming to invest something that is bigger and employ more people.
But the same companies will come to you. The same companies come into our economy, put a lot of pressure on us in terms of expatriating their returns in dollars outside of the country. So they come, they create the job, all right, but cyclically and at certain point in time, they put so much demand on the dollar, and that creates a problem for us where we have the cedi also depreciating. So, I mean, it's a two-way affair. How are you tackling that?
You
for
know,
the young
I think
youth
that
to
we
also benefit from it?
cannot pick and choose a conversation, right? Because these are specific issues at specific times. So one, you are solving unemployment, and then I think that the fiscal issues in terms of, our balance of payment, this dollar exchange rate, how you are borrowing and all that, they are also specific issues. But assuming I am to go by what you are saying, I think that the Bank of Ghana has also indicated certain steps. I have seen such measures in Nigeria, which is demanding that companies who are setting up has to be given a certain time limit by which their funds can stay in Nigeria or even in West Africa before they are expatriated. I think that these are government policies which is aimed at making sure that companies remain and their money keeps in the economy.
All right. So as I said, we're streaming on all our social media platforms, and you can join the conversation using the hashtag JustTurned18. Kofi, we have some messages from Facebook. Please read that for us.
Yeah,
and then we can...
Osman will come in very soon, but I think we should go to Facebook because we're streaming live there. SRC Oscar says, it is a fact that all the physical challenged people at the toll has been employed, permanently under the YEA. The male host is boring the show with his interjections. Allow Hyde to flow. Hyde, I'll allow you to flow, please. He says, see how the NDC man is yobbing around without telling us the implementation of the 24-hour economy. Let's go to Orlando Yavi Maxwell. He says, God bless you, Commander. You are doing great job. You have really enlightened us on so many projects this government has done. So that goes to Hyde as well. Hashtag JustTurned18. I want to know from the 24-hour economy man, industries are already struggling during, where is that post? It says industry are already struggling during the day to manufacture goods. So how can productivity be increased? And also to all of them, how are they or would they be handling or handle education? Educators are on strike for a month and some weeks, but both of the incumbents in opposition governments or parties are absolutely silent about this, pressing issue. So these are some comments from, Facebook. You can join us, put your comment there. We'll read for you, whether to Hyde, whether to, Osman. Also, the people who have just turned 18, if they have any questions, you have any questions for them to also ask on your behalf. I think you can. Yes.
Two questions.
Yes, you have your chance now.
Yeah, I think I have to react to two questions. First, the young lady who asked a question regarding people living with disabilities. What I want to put out there is that the NDC is a party that has given opportunities to people living with disabilities. He made mention the fact about YEA absorbing people living with disabilities. It was under the NDC that there was a deputy director, and that was the first, a deputy director who was living with disability. Then we formed the department under YEA for people living with disability. That was a whole model on its own. The young man is called Mr. Adongo. I've forgotten his first name, but you can check him out. You can Google him, and he's still alive. Under the NDC, we also made a cabinet appointment, a minister or someone who was also living with disability, I think Honorable Dana. And these things were done for people to understand, and people living with disabilities to understand that the fact that you have one disability or the other doesn't mean you cannot even serve in government or you cannot be helped in one way or the other. In our manifesto, in the 2020 manifesto, it is put there in black and white that all people living with disabilities are going to have education free all the way to tertiary education. So far as people living with disabilities...
Okay, hold on. Yeah. So you have free university for all persons with disability. That's according to the NPP. And you are also saying
our manifesto way back in 2020.
Okay. Are you still going to continue?
Yes, it's still, it will find itself
from
in the 2024 manifesto.
To
university.
Okay.
Yes.
So
you have
it's
already free. So we added the tertiary education for people living with disability.
Okay.
They just found a way of making that promise recently, but it has been in our manifesto way back in 2020. Please, when you were speaking, I was extremely quiet. So if you can have that mutual respect. Yes. I did realize that my brother tried to go around, introduce some propaganda about guinea fowls, etc., etc. Are we seriously talking about scandals under this MPP government? Please, the young people are scandalized. They all know that you have spent over 58 million in digging a hole. They all know that a minister who was in charge of cleaning Accra, your own city, that is so dirty, we found millions of dollars under her bed. She couldn't clean Accra for us. You should be worried about that.
Now,
That should be, no, I mean, he introduced the issues of scandals.
We
I just
get
want to remind him. Now, I just want to remind him about a few
So we all
of his
know-
government.
we
Because
all know-
his government is choking us with scandals. So
All right,
allow
we
me to
get-
just remind him about a
it's
few.
okay, so we already
No,
know
he
that.
he also reminded him about the dams. In Palugu, you have paid over $10 million. And there's no dump. There's no contractor on site. You have paid people to do work. That work has not been done. These are monies that could have been channeled to empowering these young people. You should be concerned about the scandals in your government. You should be concerned about the stealing in your government.
All right, so
you should be
Osman, now
concerned
we
about
want
the
to
corruption in
respond.
your government.
We get that.
Yes.
So now let's
I wanted
respond to our
yes,
first
I responded to the
question.
her questions about people with disabilities
Yes,
are
so please,
concerned.
let's
But
go.
once you decide to introduce the issue of scandals, I think young people should
Well, I
know.
think there's a right
Young
of
people,
rebuttals.
young
Get
people
to that.
should understand that they are suffering as a result of people stealing, as a result of corruption, as a result of incompetence, as a result of people not doing what they have been taxed or mandated to do under his government.
That's fine.
Yes.
So
There was a
Nia,
question
you
about
talk
Bukom. Yes.
Yes, about unemployment.
In his own Bukom, just around Kolegono, we put up a whole sports complex. That was a Bukom boxing arena. And that was because in Bukom, we realized that there are so many young people out there who wanted to do sports, as far as boxing and other sporting activities were concerned. That is a government that was interested in the future of the youth, in the future of people in Bukom. He should be excited about it. That was what we did. And many more we are even about to do so far as Ododo Diojo, Bukom, etc.
the
is
sports
concerned.
complex come with, it means education, where, I mean, those who are going there to do the boxing, did you
Train.
educate them? Did you
Yeah.
train them in terms of, skills and all of that? And then also giving them proper education so that, I mean, we've seen a number of our boxers who say they go out there and they are cheated just because they do not have, proper education. So beyond, putting up the sports complex, did you also attach, a system where they also get educated?
Yes, I mean, the sports complex is a whole complex industry on its own. It's not just about teaching you how to box. It also teaches people in terms of management, sports management, in terms of sports promotion, etc., etc. So it's a whole complex
But who are the lecturers there?
on its own. Would you let me finish? It's a whole complex on its own that deals with sports facility, how to deal with the boxers, how to deal with the management, how to deal with the promotion. It is not a school, strictly speaking, a four-classroom, a block classroom where you go and they teach you what ABCD is all about. We have put up schools in those areas. You go to just the adjoining constituencies, we have put up schools. Remember, we were doing what we call the eradication of the shift system. We put up schools in all the adjoining constituencies and areas around Bukom. That is what you do to elevate or take people out of poverty. That is what you do to help young people. He made mention about the fact that NIEP also helped in promoting some young businesses. NEIP was couched out of YES, which was the Youth Enterprise Support
Yes,
System.
right.
Yes, under the NDC. And we started it and we promoted young people under the NDC and we gave some loans and some stipends
So what
to
should
young
they
people out
expect?
there.
What should
so
they
what,
expect?
yes, what they should expect out there. In the coming days of the NDC, we are going to launch our manifesto. Quite apart from that, in that manifesto, we'll also have what we call the 1 Million Coders program. And that is to help young people go through serious training. So far as one program is concerned, internet programming is concerned, web design, etc., anything that has to do with technology. Because we've realized that the world is currently shifting towards the IT world, fintech, etc., etc. We need to empower and position younger people towards the tech industry so that they can be employable. Quite apart from that, aside from just training them, we'll also put out a policy to make sure that every university area or every public and private university campus would have free internet data service.
That's already in place.
would you let me land? In University of Ghana, there's free internet for please. Let's not.
Yes,
let's
there's
not
actually
say
free
let's
Wi-Fi.
not. No,
Wi-Fi.
there's free Wi-Fi coming from the university. Yes, but we are saying that even beyond the free Wi-Fi, we are also providing internet for the entire university community and the entire environment. When you go to universities, example, when we were in K University, you only had internet within the halls and within the what do you call it, the lecture halls. And I think that this time around we are expanding to
so wherever you are,
on the university campus, you're going to have free Wi-Fi. We're looking at the 1 million coders program that you can train 1 million people, 1 million youth at least every year that can go into programming. And we're also going to introduce the Youth Entrepreneurial Development Program. And that is to serve as an apprenticeship program for young people who want to go into businesses. Quite apart from that, we're also going to give them some loans and tax exemptions to young people. Once you're a youth and you decide to set up a company, you're going to have some tax holidays, minimum of 5 years. And if you're a business and you're also employing many young people straight from university, then what it means is that you're also going to enjoy some tax holiday because you're employing young people straight from university. So the whole idea is to put young people in a better position to set up their own businesses, that is one, and also put young people in a better position to be employed by various businesses.
Okay.
That is two. And that is what we are looking at doing. Because as a country, we cannot have an unemployment rate of 14 points, or I think the figure showed us about 18.8%, and a figure of 1.9 million young people who are unemployed. It is unacceptable. It shouldn't happen anywhere. Hyde and his government, the last few years, have given us different figures that they have employed people. I think the last time the president said he had employed 2.1 million Ghanaians. The vice president came to say he had employed 2.2 million Ghanaians. Their own employment minister came to say they have employed 5.5 million Ghanaians. So we do not even know what figure or the number of people they have employed as a country. And this is the consistent lies, the consistent inconsistencies in their government. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, there are so many young people who want to be employed. Hyde himself, if he's going to be honest with you, for the last 7 years, he has been unemployed under his own government. Under his own government, he has been unemployed. That is under his own government. So you see, you should be interested in getting people employed. You understand? That is the most important thing. The fact that you are an NPP person today and you are able to... the fact that you are an NPP person today and you are able to get people... No, it's not... It is a fact.
We can personalize the conversation.
It's not personalization.
I finished...
If you cannot promise to give what you yourself you don't have or what your government has.
Maybe I need to educate you.
Yes,
I think this sort of fanciful conversations and sometimes governors these things, it doesn't help our conversation. I left Nooks in 2021. Right when I left Nooks, I joined the Bureau of National Investigations, now NIB. From NIB, I went to Ghana Gas. In between my joining Ghana Gas was when I took up this role. So I'm not like any ordinary young person like the NDC have. As I speak to you today, if you even look at the unemployment data, majority of the people who are unemployed are the NDC people. I tell you because when we go to the grounds, we meet them. Today he's speaking about this. I have been traveling for the past 2 weeks.
Is it not because possibly you are victimizing them because
I'm coming. Okay. I have been traveling across the northern regions, from Yendi, Gushegu, Karaga, Nanton, all the way to Tamale. There are road projects which are going on across the country. These are Ghanaians who are taking up that job. These are Ghanaians who are... But the issue is not about, we can go into, taking the slide at people. But what matters is that I think that there's also the need for us to correct certain data.
So
it is important to inform him that when he talks about Bukom Boxing Arena, no government has invested in infrastructure more than the NPP. Today, as I speak to you, AstroTurfs, even in Bukom, we have built an AstroTurf there because football is one of the cardinal, sports games that happens at our backyard.
We'll come back to sports.
I look forward to that. Thank you very much.
We'll come back to sports. Social media is reacting to whatever we are doing here. We have a number of first-time voters who have joined the conversation. Remember that you can also join the conversation using the hashtag #JustTurned18 on all our social media platforms. Please take some of the comments on Facebook.
We
have a few of them. Yes.
From Facebook. This is from David Noble. Okay, let me start with Gifford Akrofi Addison said, it is very evident the NDC have no clear policies for the youth and the nation at large. Osman should stick to addressing the issue and providing proper solutions. I am a student of UG and I am able to access free Wi-Fi even at the Okponglo traffic lights. And David Noble says, why is the lady host feeling uncomfortable when Mr. Ayariga, come on, wanted to talk about the scandals, the scandals in the NPP? She didn't stop Isaac when he was talking about, guinea fowls flying to Burkina Faso. That simply was a lie. How can that happen? Let our young ones check the facts. And Dauda Idris says, JM said he is not magician to give the youth of this country a job. He is now a magician. Is he now a magician? He's asking a very simple question.
But James said that. Are we not in this country?
I challenge you to bring.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
I challenge.
Why is there a video? There's a Google story to this.
Let's go to the panel.
Remember that we are here for our first-time voters, so let us hear the question.
We will come.
And we will come back to you.
Produce any video where.
Why is this a video?
I'm challenging you. No,
Osman,
I am challenging you. If you have any story,
let's remember, Osman and Hyde, let's remember that we are here for our first-time voters to hear.
See, you are here to listen to
the
first-time
voters.
This is a sample of the 2.6 million Ghanaians who have the chance to vote. So I think that we should listen to them rather than possibly trying to play blame games and all of that.
All right, so let's speak to Erica. Erica, any question for our people?
Thank you very much. I don't like where the conversation is going at all.
Okay.
It has turned into...
blame game?
Exactly. And it has turned into something like a comparison.
Yeah.
Let's go to the atomistic, like the very least. Yes. You as a Ghanaian, me as a Ghanaian, if we keep doing this, are we helping those who are coming after us? Well, someone mentioned here that it's not a problem with the current government, but it has to do with administrations over administrations, and that's how far we've come. So if you are trying to be partisan, are we doing ourselves any good? Because an average Ghanaian, an average youth, may not want to partake in political stuff because of partisanship. And the one who is willing to come in is coming in because definitely he'll get something. You get it? So what are we doing as Ghanaians? Let's be Ghanaian right now. I feel like we should be Ghanaian right now. Let's be a Ghanaian right now.
That's a very simple plea.
So coming to the idea of democracy, that's what we are practicing. That's what it looks like. That's what we say we are practicing. But I don't think that is it. Our democracy is very flawed. Honestly, very, very flawed. And if you are going with this democracy, we won't get anywhere. Things won't get any better. We will keep blaming ourselves, comparing ourselves to political parties, always comparing ourselves. I'm better than the other when we are not doing the right thing. We are doing the wrong things. But I feel like because of mediocrity, at least it's better than the other, so we are okay. That shouldn't be it. So what are we doing to educate the Ghanaians? Because most of them don't know what's going on. They don't know their political rights. They don't know where our democracy is even going. And looking at our democracy right now, it won't take us anywhere. Trust me. I'm telling you the truth before man and God.
All right. On that note, here's where we take a little breather. We'll be back, but we are also parting ways finally with our Joy News audience. Akakbo is on, or Benjamin Akakbo is on standby with Joyce Bauer for the interview, so please head on there to see what happens. But when we come back, we still take questions from our first-time voters.
Hello, Mommy, it's me.
Jesus, Coco, where are you?
Is that the sound of your daughter?
Bugatti Chiron.
She's fat.
Are you out of your mind?
I'm serious.
Are you guys involved in some kind of armed robbery?
No, no way.
Sis.
Today is payday. I'm here for my money.
What's up with the coins?
Is coins not money?
Mother, do you watch how you talk to me?
What do you really want from me?
Get rid of the boy. Don't touch my wife. I want to lay my hands on her myself.
You can't do me nothing, Paul. You're a coward.
You daring me?
Shoot me, Paul. Shoot me!
Welcome to a new dispensation where the sting of a strike, the stroke of a spike, and the caress of a punch leaves the squeeze of a rim, and the pressure never stops.
This is Sports Zone, where the rush of the action gets the coverage it deserves. Every Monday at 9 p.m. only on Joy Prime.
Sports Zone is sponsored by Hunters.
Syntax Tank, are you strong? Are you tough?
In the world of the rich, everything comes with a price.
This is all my fault. Be careful, okay? We still have to get married.
We held each other's secrets. You still don't know the kind of family you got yourself into. He's still my brother. He's still my family. And families don't kill each other, okay?
Have faith in me, Dad. I will solve this case.
Widow's Web.
Joy Prime, the ultimate experience.
Good morning!
Welcome to Prime Morning.
Here, we serve you the best breakfast, being it current affairs on Prime Inside.
Women in business.
The big interview where the big stories are told.
On Prime Morning, we make certain that you're inspired,
well informed,
updated, and entertained for the day.
Health, relationship, and lifestyle. Join the trio, Rosalind Fairley, Esiedua Komia, the Golden Girl, KMJ, your royal host, each weekday from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day of the year.
This is still Joy Prime National Dialogue with first-time voters, and I am still here. My name is Lois Shola, and I'm not doing this alone. I'm still here with Kofi Eje, my brother from another mother. Before we start the conversation, I'll go back to the questions again. Let me say a very big thank you to our sponsors, because Kofi, without them, we won't be sitting here.
Absolutely.
And our first-time voters will also not be here asking the questions they want answers to. So let me say a very big thank you to Youth Bridge Foundation, to Star Ghana Foundation as well. Let me also say a very big thank you to the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, Petrosol as well, and also say a very big thank you as well to the AICPA and to CIMA for holding us down. Let us also say a very big thank you to German Ozone Medical Center and to Chopbox Technologies as well, and to Franco Trading Enterprise for making this conversation possible. Without them, we wouldn't be seated here, as I have said. So we are going back to the questions. As I said, our first-time voters are ready to ask all the questions. And this time, we will plead with Osman and Hai to please answer the questions briefly, because they have a lot of questions to ask. So let's keep them brief. You have 1 minute to answer the question, a maximum of 1 minute to answer each question that they give you. So let's get into it. So yes, who is asking our question? They're going to Dorcas. I'll come back to you. Dorcas, your question. The microphone, please pass the microphone to her.
Thank you very much for...
Yeah, it's on. Let's go.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to know if you could provide us with specific examples of how you plan to engage the youth in policy-making processes in Ghana. Because you guys, sorry for the expression, but you have been talking about what you have done. It is so alarming to see that you want to do things for us without us. And I am very interested about a youth-inclusive governance in Ghana. So how do you plan to engage me and my brothers, as well as those with disabilities, in policy-making processes?
So, Hyde, we are asking about inclusivity. Sorry. You are running away this time. All right, so Osman, we're starting with you.
I don't mind going ahead. Yes,
that's fine.
Yes, there's inclusivity for us in the NDC. We are engaging the youth even before government and even in government. Now, on the 12th of August, which is going to be the International Youth Day, the NDC, we are going to launch what we call the Youth Manifesto. And the launch of the Youth Manifesto has to do with all the things and everything that we need as a youth or as young people in this country. We have sent so many questionnaires out. We have sent online links out to young people out there to just tell us what they expect in the next government or in the next NDC government. That is the first point of inclusivity. The next thing is that for the first time in the history of this country, the flag bearer of the NDC has decided, and it's going to be in the manifesto, that we're going to have an entirely separate ministry for youth development. You know,
are you going to create another ministry?
Yes. It's a whole ministry for youth development. You know, we have what we call Ministry of Youth and Sports. And in most times, when you talk about Ministry of Youth and Sports, it just usually has to do with sports. And even sports, we all know it has narrowed down only to football.
John Mahama says he's going to work with, I think, about 65 ministers.
Yes.
So why are you going to set up a new
Ministry for Youth Development? Because the youth are integral as far as nation building is concerned. Why do you think that you can have Ministry of Roads, but you shouldn't have Ministry for Youth Development?
So why do you have all this number of agencies? Why, whatever?
Yes,
why do you need another ministry?
So all those agencies, if you look at the current government architecture, you have YEA, you have NYA, all youth agencies, and they all fall under different ministries. YEA, for example, now is under Ministry of Employment. I don't know where the MPP has put it, but under the NDC, it was under Ministry of Employment. Then you had NYA, which was under Ministry of Youth and Sports. Then you have what we used to call the YES, which is now NEIP, which used to be Youth Enterprise Services or Support. But now that one is under the presidency. And you have other agencies, and they are all scattered. So what we're saying is that we're going to have an entirely new ministry, which we call the Ministry for Youth Development. And that ministry is going to be looking at so many things. We're going to look at how you can have the youth employed, how you can have the grievances and the issues of the youth addressed at the youth ministry. So you're going to have the Youth Enterprise YEA, Youth Employment Agency, which will fall under the Ministry of Youth Development. You're going to even have the Labor Services, the Labor Office, which will also fall under the Youth Ministry. You're going to have all the agencies that in one way or the other are engaged in youth activities fall under the Youth Ministry. Then you can have a proper cohesion, you can have a proper synchronization, you can have a proper working culture so far as the Youth Ministry is concerned. So what we're going to do is that Youth Ministry is going to be in charge of making sure that the youth development of this country is key. So you are not going to be pressed with dealing with sports and youth at the same time. We know and we understand that considering a bracket of people that is close to about 50% of the population of this country, they deserve an entirely separate ministry standing on its own to deal with their concerns. That has to do with the inclusivity so far as the youth is concerned. So anytime you have an issue, you know that you walk straight to the youth office. And that office is going to deal with, one, so far as capacity building is concerned, so far as training is concerned, so far as employment is concerned, so far as developing the youth holistically is concerned. And John Mahama, if you listen to him, he said that this time around, his government is going to be one of the youthful governments you can ever find in the history of this country. So it is going to be...
Your 1 minute is up.
Yes, so it's going to be a government for the youth, by the youth, and with the youth at the center of government. Thank you.
Well, I think the concern is that you have a number of these agencies. Are you going to do a measure? Are you going to scrap them? How are you going to set
No,
up?
we're just putting all of them
together
under one ministry.
Under one umbrella.
Yes, and that will still be at the figure we talked about, 60 minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, thank you very much. And I think that the question is holistic. First of all, I think that if my colleagues have noticed, our flag bearer started youth engagement way before we even got to this stage. We have launched as a party in a youth wing, what we call the Youth Connect. And we started from the regional basis. Our flag bearer traveled to all 16 regions, and at every point in time was engaging students, was engaging identifiable groups like artisans, persons who are doing the YEA, and seamstresses, everybody, so that people can share their perspectives about how our governance should go. Like, people also had the opportunity to ask him direct questions. We have gone a step further. In the second round of his tour, we are still doing the Youth Connect. We are moving from constituency to constituency. We are engaging. While I was up north with him, we were in Yendi, where we engaged the students of the School of Hygiene. They had the opportunity to ask questions about nursing, where's the direction of our governance and how the decisions of government is affecting them. So it could be, your campus could be the next place. It is not ending there. As I speak to you, we as a party, on the composition of our manifesto committee, took an affirmative action to ensure that there will be youth representation. My brother and colleague, Dennis Apialabi, is a representative on the youth manifesto committee. This is the immediate NUCS president that left right after Yadom Boache, and he's also representing the position of the youth. Beyond that, we also open the channels that any young person who has an idea, who thinks that, and I'm sure it can cut across both MPP and NDC, but everybody should come forward and share a certain perspective as to how we can all contribute to the governance of our party. But directly, we want to ensure accountability, and so we are making our flag bearer available to every young person. It is coming to your region, it is coming to your constituency, it is coming just even by you. And at any point in time when we are doing these engagements, it is not just the flag bearer. The parliamentary candidate who will be the intermediary between yourself and the government is also seated right there and there, so that it is not a matter of you saying something and knowing that. And let us also be reminded that in engaging politically, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has never been president before. He's only seeking your mandate today and saying that, give me a chance. And mind you, he has another opportunity compared to his opponents to come back to you again, where you are going to evaluate him based on the opportunity he's seeking for you to give him today. And so at every point in time, engagement is very important.
So you want the...
opportunity to lead is actually an opportunity to engage. And that is why it is not only Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia who has said that somebody should give me steering wheel. President Mahama has said it before. But let's stick to, the perspective of our colleagues, and let's not trivialize the issues. The concentration is that how do we engage and let the young people feel led, and let them feel that their opinion matters. Okay. I disagree with the position of a party that has said that it is going to reduce government, yet it is going to consider that. But maybe that's a conversation for another day.
Absolutely.
So, you see, when
but I said maybe that's
when you throw a jab,
you spoke, nobody said anything.
I think
I asked you how you are going to do that.
Yeah, but I didn't make reference to anybody.
Yes,
once you try to cast
we are here for them,
Our first time.
Give them a chance to say something.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So I'll go straight to the point. The youth has voiced out a number of times that when the opponents come into power, they do not continue the work of those who were in government. So this time around, we are looking forward to a change. So is there going to be a change about those things?
All right, so she's talking about continuity in projects. When parties leave power, the person who comes into power next tends not to, finish the projects that the other one started. So Osman, I'm coming straight to you.
Yes.
How are we solving that?
The NDC government is one government that believes in continuity, irrespective of whoever started the project, because the project is being funded by the Ghanaian taxpayers' money, and the projects are for the Ghanaian people. It's not for you, the individual. It's not for nothing at all. That God bless his soul, Professor John Evans Atamils, when we continued the George Walker Bush N1 project and we completed, he actually invited John Agyekum Kufuor, who was the former president at the time, and said that this is a project he started and I have completed it. And I remember he even said at the time that this is a 1-1 affairs so far as credit is concerned. This is the kind of leadership the NDC exhibits. We don't just come to government and say, this is a project that was started by the NPP, so we would not continue it. Unlike the NPP government, you remember we started all these e-blocks that we were trying as much as possible to provide so many community day schools in every community so that no ward or no student will have to walk beyond 5 kilometers to access education. When the president was asked the last time, especially the one with the Volta region, when he was going to complete the e-block, he said the chief can use his own money to complete the project. Not only e-blocks, when you talk about road projects, when they came into office, the first thing they did was to stop most of the road projects that were being constructed across the country. You can talk about Cocoa Board projects, you can talk about Ministry of Roads projects, you can talk about feeder roads, you can talk about all those road projects. Most of them, once they believe that this is a project that was started by the NDC, they just try to either stop it or frustrate the contractor. But I can assure you that we are a government that has continued every project that has been started by any government we have taken over from. And we do not intend to stop any project that has been started by the NPP. They have started so many projects right now that they do not even have funding to continue. But we can assure you that whether hospitals, whether schools, whether roads, etc., whatever project it is that has been started by the NPP, that is being funded by the taxpayers' money, we are giving you that assurance that we will complete every project. John Dramani Mahama has given that assurance that we shall finish all ongoing projects before we start any new project.
Okay. All right. Hyde.
Yes, I think that, once again, this is another brilliant question. I think that, we need to understand that governance is a continuous process. So irrespective of who is in government, it's still the taxpayers' money. And that is why every government that comes in inherits projects and they continue. The NPP inherited a number of projects from the NDC. Today we have continued a number of them. Some health infrastructure like the Kumewu one have been completed. Afari is another project which is ongoing. I believe that beyond that, there's also the need for us to also look at a certain framework that regulates how we implement some of these things so that it's not a matter of us and when there's resources, they can be completed. Because some governments do also come in, implement so many projects, and then maybe when they leave, the incoming government now has a challenge as to how to raise funds to complete them. But that notwithstanding, there's also the focus of how things are going. Today, as I speak to you, a number of projects are going on in the government. Even the University of Ghana Medical Center, which was started somewhere from Kufuor to, President Mills. President Akufo-Addo came to continue it. I believe that if there's a need to have a third phase or a fourth phase, somebody else will also come and continue. What is crucial is that governance is a continuous process. So whoever is in government must continue where somebody has left off.
Okay. All right. I think you have a... Okay. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so based on my sister's question, I want to make a very humble plea to our two political parties here. That's one. Back to my constituency again, the St. P's School. The students are in a very bad place now. Today is even Monday. You can go and look at the place where they are learning, which is not good. Then there's Salaga markets. Our markets too are complaining. Then to my main question, currently doctors are leaving the country. Nurses are following them. Health personnel too are leaving the country. What is the future for our health sector? Because we have a backlog of nurses sitting in the house with no job to do. So I want to plead. I don't know whether it should be a question or a plead, but I'm pleading that we should look at the health sector for the sake of Ghanaians. That the doctors leaving, the nurses leaving, the health personnel leaving, those sitting in the house, what are we going to do so that they will be retained in the country and those not being in the field working, they will also be in the field working?
Who's going first?
Well, that is a genuine concern from a well-meaning young person. It is instructive to know that this government has once again employed more nurses than any other government. That is because the more you expand infrastructure, the more there is a need for you to employ people. Today, as I speak to you, we are on the project of the 1D1F. Government has intimated that over 60,000 to 100,000 people would have to be employed to fill in these ranks that is being built up across the various districts. Then, of course, the concern that nurses, this has also been shown that it's a cycle which happens after over a number of years. In '89, we had something like that. In the early 2000s, we had something like that. And then as we are seeing today. But perhaps our situation would have been worse if we had not ensured that nurses are being paid allowances so that we attract more people to go and continue learning nursing.
But you see,
no, I'm coming.
yeah,
Let me
yeah.
finish so
Okay,
that you
okay.
can come in. The point is that today, as I speak to you, we are training more nurses. What it means is that while some are leaving our ranks, we are also making sure that there's a replacement. That is not ideal because normally people gain experience and they go out there.
Yeah.
But beyond that, we have also deliberately exported nurses to places like Barbados and Cuba and other places where we train our doctors. So there's a need for certain incentives to be in place. There's a need for us to ensure that the right infrastructure and other things are there. Of course, at every point in time, people have been attracted by better conditions of service. But that is why the government is also in there to ensure that we are providing the relevant materials. All these new hospitals that we are building should have the relevant needs that these people are coming in to come and learn. And then to end my point, government has recently given clearance so that the 2020-2021 batches of nurses are also going to be put on the stream. Today, as I speak to you, nurses across the country are happy. And more people are joining nursing because there's an allowance that is ensuring that even if you don't have money in the house, even if you have a challenge, at least you can get to be in the classroom. And I think that the government must be commended for it.
Well, I think Nia's question was on those who are currently employed and are leaving. Why would you think that anybody will be employed and still want to leave the country? Especially when you are in a certain occupation or job like a doctor. I think they are paid well, or nurses. Why would they leave the country and then also to seek for greener pasture? What's causing that?
That's why I mentioned that it's a cycle. Today, as I speak to you, it can be analyzed from various fronts. It's a demand issue. If you leave Ghana and go to Europe and there's no market for you or there's no job for you, then it will reduce the number of people who are going. But once there's demand, we have had Brexit, we have had a global economic crunch, which has changed quite a number of it. So there's employment for a number of people to fill some of these vacancies.
Is it not because they are not being paid well?
I'm coming. Take it easy. I have earlier intimated that better conditions of service is an attraction. So yes, there's no denying that the Ghanaian worker deserves better, or there can be better conditions of service. And at every point in time, these demands have been there. And that is why the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, at every point in time, will be engaging government to seek increments in salaries and other things. But it goes just beyond that. Sometimes when you're even posting people up north, they are not going because they feel that the infrastructure that they need, you need to give them hostels. You need to make sure that the tools that they have to work with, it is provided. Government is already intervening in that space. But beyond that...
How are you doing the intervention and they are still leaving?
What I'm saying is that at every point in time, people have been leaving. It is now rampant because, one, there is demand out there. Perhaps 10 years ago, there wouldn't have been such a demand.
Because of the economic challenges?
No. Listen, the challenges have never been exclusive. When we look at it from one end, that's what the problem is. That's why I say that today, assuming we are not training enough nurses and people are going, you would have felt the shortage in the system. But you don't feel the shortage because there's a backup which is filling up the vacancies. That is not to say that the people who are leaving, they are not leaving with experience. Okay. But I also emphasize that there is a demand somewhere. For instance, if you talk about the current exchange rate, which we also have a challenge with, the reality is that it is a demand and supply issue. The more people are importing into the country, the more they need the foreign currency in order to do that. Once you are building your factories and you are producing locally, there wouldn't be a need for you to bring up anything. So the point that I'm emphasizing for us to understand is that as young people, government is putting in place measures to ensure that, one, our nurses are getting better conditions of service. And then two, there's employment. Because the more you are employing them, the more you are filling up the ranks of... And of course, that is why we are also building more health infrastructure. Today, if we put on stream the Agenda 111, which is building 111 hospitals across the district, we are going to employ people. Our own colleagues are going to get employment.
In your almost 8 years, I love the fact that you have Agenda 111, so flamboyant and big. Have you completed any single hospital?
A number of hospitals have been completed. I've earlier mentioned Tepa. I've earlier mentioned Kumeu. He's a witness to that. All have been completed and today, as I speak to you, even you said that has any hospital been completed?
Under
Agenda 111. These are a number of hospitals under stream. September, about 30 of them have been earmarked to be completed. So understand that this is a project which was started and is going to be completed. The University of Ghana Hospital was completed under this particular government. So equally, if you ask about a hospital which is completed under NPP, that's one of them.
Okay, Osman.
You see how my brother struggled when you ask him about Agenda 111. But I don't blame him, you know. Akufo-Addo and Nana Addo have made it very difficult for young people like my brothers in the MPP to communicate for the party because they have done nothing for them to come out and speak to. So it's very difficult for them when they are communicating. I can understand his pain. I can understand his struggles.
Can we?
Yeah. Back to the question. You see, the issue of nurses basically is an economic issue. Let's not run away from the fact. It's an economic issue. Nobody wants to leave their homeland to another country to go and suffer. No. It's basically an economic issue. So when a nurse or a doctor does the mathematics and he realizes that if I'm out there, even with the cold and the harsh weather, compared to me being in my homeland, Ghana, what I earn at the end of the day is better off, then the person can risk and say, okay, let me go and face the cold out there. It's an economic issue. If you wake up in the morning as a doctor and you are earning, say, 14,000 or even 10,000 cedis, and I told you, and by the 30th of the next month, your salary cannot even take you to the 14th of that same month. Of course, I'll reconsider being in Ghana because I know that my skills, my profession is being demanded in another country.
So what is the NDC going to do?
It's an economic issue.
Yeah.
And that is why we're saying that we need to reset this country. We need to bring this country back to its days of glory. We need someone who can remanage this economy. And of course, when we talk about the 24-hour economy, the 24-hour economy is not just for businesses, but it is to reset this economy, put this economy in a better position. One, you should be able to have stable prices of goods and services. You should be able to have a stable currency. You should be able to have stable inflation. If you're able to achieve just these things, these basic things as a country, you will not have a nurse or a doctor trying to travel out to and for greener pastures. So basically, it is an economic issue, and we should look at that. And of course, we have also tried as much as possible to give doctors and nurses, the health workers, some incentives so far as their conditions of services are concerned.
All right.
And we also, so far as the construction of hospitals are concerned, we implemented a policy that every region should at least have a regional and teaching hospital, which we completed most of the regional hospitals. Agenda 111, he was the one who mentioned the issue of slogans. Another beautiful slogan, Agenda 111, very flamboyant slogan. 2 years ago, they promised that they were going to complete 111 hospitals in 18 months. We are in the second year. We are in the second year and counting. And not a single one, not one of those 111 hospitals has been completed. And I can tell you as a matter of fact, even till December, not one will be completed. And I dare them, yes. So this has to do with the health.
All right. Okay, so yes, we said that we are streaming on all our social media platforms. So please join the conversation using the hashtag #JustTurned18. We have comments on Facebook. Kofi.
Yes, let's go to the touch screen. And Manuel Squire says, yeah, the stability of inflation rate, exchange rates are even adequate to ensure the economic progress and prosperity of the state. The same Manuel says, in 6 years of Mahama Gan West, Syria, 38 military, I think he meant 37 military hospital and other hospitals were put up in 8 years of MPP. They still justify their porous actions and blatant lies of still putting things, in place, or steps are being taken. And then Prince Atobra says, good morning, Joy Prime. If we can push that one up. It says, I am really enjoying the conversation on board. Thank you very much. Shout out to the panelists as well as the teenagers. My point of view, that's a very long message. My point of view is that this is the time we all need to put our country at heart first and strive to work hard to build our nation with the unborn generation in mind. The 1D, 1F is really good, and that must be appreciated. Personally, there's no way you can compare 2012, 2015 NDC's government to this present NPP government. Things are not the same, not even mention population. Dr. Nkrumah has been an outstanding and greatest of all time. In this Fourth Republic, the NPP's government is doing better than the NDC's government, and there's no two ways in that. Maybe NDC can do their best, though, hopefully. However, I feel like a third action and vibrant force can be trusted also. Thank you. We'll come back to the conversation around third force.
Yes, but as I said, we are still streaming, so please keep the comments coming. We are still here. But our first-time voters, over to you again. Eugenia, your question.
Okay, mine is about the free SHS. So the current government promised us a lot, and I was a beneficiary. I was part of the first batch. What we were promised, we were promised quality education, which involves a lot of things, but we went and it was something else. It was just quite the opposite. So I'm asking, my question is, the previous one didn't go well. So what measures are you putting in place to make sure that, when we vote you into power, you are going to make sure that this and this and this is done? Because when it comes to that, me personally, I'm not convinced about you making free SHS anywhere better. And about the NDC representative, I'm asking, if you are voted into power, are you going to take the free SHS away, or you are going to maintain it to make it better? So that is my question.
All right, so this comes from a conversation we had a few episodes ago, where we spoke about the free SHS policy, and Eugenia sitting here said that she wanted it to be abolished because she didn't feel like any good thing was going to come out of it.
Although
Even
she benefited?
She benefited from it, all right, but
Wow.
she feels it should be abolished because it did not serve the purpose for which she was told it was going to be served. So Heidi, we come to you because you're the sitting government.
I think Eugenia is not even alone. There's an IMF and World Bank. You know, if you go into an IMF program, there's something comment they make about the free SHS that you did not really target the people.
Yes.
And the outcomes are not really going well. It's a good initiative. She feels she was a beneficiary, but she feels that expectations were quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that, without taking a swipe, as a journalist, sometimes when you are making such interjections, we need to understand how it affects the shaping of the conversation. The IMF says that it was not properly targeted. The conversation about targeting started when we were bringing in free SHS as to whether some have to pay or some are not going to pay. I think that we have moved past that stage. Today, the reality is that 1.4 million Ghanaian students who ordinarily, because, and I say 1.4 million, these have been beneficiaries. Each and every year, we're losing thousands of Ghanaian students who finish high school and they don't get to go to the senior high school. I don't understand where my sister Eugenia is coming from. Maybe it's an individual perspective, but I have been to places where I've seen young people who tell me that, but for free SHS, I wouldn't have been in the classroom because of where I come from. The issue about quality, I think that it is debatable. Today, I don't know whether she passed the WASI or how she would blame free, especially when, I'm coming. If she says that she didn't see that, I'm wondering which angle or which aspect of the policy that she was affected. Maybe it was a matter of congestion. Maybe it was a matter of quality.
She was speaking about quality, yes. Because I said she wasn't the only one who made that
ostensibly.
Statement. But in that conversation alone, we had 15% of them who said it should be reviewed.
There are also thousands of Ghanaian students who also want free SHS to stay. I have been to high schools where people are looking at the broader picture.
I'm not catching you, but explain to us, Virginia, when you say quality, what do you mean by quality when it comes to the free SHS policy?
Okay, I was part of the first batch. So we went to meet our seniors who were paying fees. So when we went, we had good food to eat because they were paying fees. They couldn't take us out of the food because we are all in the school. But I came to realize that after they left, and we were the seniors, and we realized that the food changed. Like, we didn't get the good food we used to. Since it is free and there was inadequate food stuff coming from the government, our matrons didn't give us good food to eat. You get it? And sometimes, too, when it comes to our dormitories, there are a lot of... when we came to meet our seniors, they were having enough space, but we have to come and... it was very crowded, and it breeded a lot of insects. It was unhealthy for us because a lot of people came in, and we just have to adjust to it. Yeah, so, and in our classrooms too, a class that is supposed to contain maybe 50 students, due to the number, it had to increase. So since the number has increased, why don't you build more classrooms for us so that we all get the space we want?
So she's talking about quality food and inadequate structures.
Yes, I mean, like I said, it's a legitimate concern. Nobody wants to study or stay in an environment which does not, ensure progression or quality of service. But as I mentioned, as FreeSHS came into stream, the Ghana Education Trust Fund quickly sprang up across the country and built over 900 facilities. I, at the time, as a NUCS president, I visited, Takwa Senior High School, even Wesley Grammar, a number of projects. I don't know the school that she went, but perhaps government did put something out there. For me, I share in the concern of my sister and probably any right-meaning Ghanaian who thinks that there's a need for improvement. But improvement is a continuous process. The more infrastructure, the more we are also absorbing the pressure on the existing infrastructure. Then, of course, there's also the need to also look at that the Ghana Education Service over time has been moving across to ensure that food supply into our high schools are ensured. But for me, as a former student leader and as young people, I want us to also look at the bigger picture. And I'm inviting my colleagues to understand something, that yes, indeed, there may be challenges, but we also have a responsibility to sacrifice an element of our comfort to ensure that the ordinary person who is coming from Ride and buy in other places, who but for the implementation of such a policy would not have been able to make it into the classroom, gets to come in there. We all have a roommate who, between you and I, knows that the only thing that person needs is to be able to get to the classroom and write an exam. But for food and other things, maybe they hustle on their own. So I understand and I share in the concerns. But I think that the bigger picture is that our colleagues who ordinarily, who do not have the favor or the benefits of a certain mother or father who could have afforded that, gets to also be in a classroom like us. And the person can dream to be an engineer, to be a doctor, to be a teacher like all of us.
So we are not disputing the fact, or they are not disputing the fact that the free SHS policy is good and that is helping people. But she's saying that how can we improve it? If you're reviewing, and how can we make it better? And how does MPP...
And I've maintained that. You see, then again, you force me to probably go back to some down memory lane. There was a time in this country when the conversation of free SHS started. President Akufo-Addo started the talk of free SHS all the way 2008. In 2012, he repeated it. In 2016, he repeated it. Unlike previous policies where politicians wait, last minute they implement. Right the very year Akufo-Addo came into power in 2017, he implemented free SHS without knowing that these are the challenges. But effectively, over time, there has been improvement. In between this improvement that we are talking about, government is constantly expanding schools. Today, we are building the STEM institutions so that you don't have to run everywhere to go and do science. There is a STEM institution, a comprehensive STEM institution. We have Abomosu, we have Bosomtri, we have, the one in the Northeast region. All these things are institutions which are being put across the country. I don't think that the NDC is in a better position to tell us whether we are going to review free SHS or not. They have never believed in it from the onset. We were in this country when on an Independence Day, they went about singing, free education 419, free education 419. Anybody who was a member of this, government, or anybody who has been in this country knows what we are talking about. Today, they've seen the success of it, so they think it's a review. I think the person who brought it is in a better position to keep improving like we are doing.
Okay, so I am from Bosomtri, and I've seen the school you are talking about, and I think it's a very, very good school. But her question was on improvement. I think you've spoken about it, so Osman should come in to...
Yes, Eugene, I understand your plight because I've had siblings go through the same ordeal, or if not even a worse ordeal, of a free SHS system. You remember when this entire free SHS conversation began, we were of the opinion, of the view, and we are still of the view, that we needed to put enough infrastructure in place before we actually kickstart the free SHS. Infrastructure in terms of schools, buildings, in terms of dormitories, in terms of dining halls, etc., etc. He made mention of the fact that they built 900, Get Farm built 900 facilities. I don't know where the facilities are. I don't know what 900 facilities he's talking about. I don't know whether they are schools or dormitories. But if Get Farm had actually put out 900 facilities under their government, I don't think we'll even be having this conversation. Remember, we said that a good policy such as Community Day SHS, that was going to support the free SHS system so that you don't have to walk more than even 2 kilometers to access secondary education, or you didn't have to be in a boarding facility to access secondary education. We embarked on an ambitious plan of building 200 community day SHS. By the time we left power, we had built well over 45 community day SHS, and the rest were in various stages of completion. If they had completed all those 200 community day SHS, I'm sure more than half of the students from her institution would have been in the community day school, thereby reducing the congestion. So it has to do with the facilities, it has to do with the infrastructure, it has to do with constructing 1, dormitories, 2, classrooms, 3, schools that are very close to the community, so that people don't have to travel far to access quality.
So going forward, are you going to maintain the free estate policy, or you are going to introduce your own thing?
We have said time without number that we are going to review the free SHS policy. But they understand review as cancellation. I don't know where it came from. And the first thing President John Mahama said was that in the first 100 days of his government, we are going to put together a stakeholders meeting of parents, of head teachers, and of students who have gone through the free SHS system. And we need to have an ostensible conversation as to how to improve it. Because you need someone who has been through it, you need someone who is in it, you need someone who is currently managing it, especially as a headmaster. Under this current government, as a headmaster, you dare not speak against free SHS or speak so far as your ordeal is concerned. The next thing is that you either be sacked or transferred or chased out. So it is a conversation we need to have. It is something we need to improve upon. The NDC has said time without number from day one that we need to review it. Parents have agreed we need to review it. Teachers have agreed we need to review it. And even the media have agreed we need to review it.
All right.
That is what
so
we
Thank you very much.
Rest assured that when the NDC comes into power, they are saying that they are not going to kick free SHS.
And the NPP says that, I mean, it's still a good policy. They are putting plans in place to make sure that some of the challenges you face, they will solve it, right?
Right.
Oh, as for the NDC, they are backtracking. When you, between Bimbila and Wolensi, one day senior high school, you could walk about 10 kilometers to get there. I wonder how people are going to do that.
You have the floor.
Yeah, okay, so as someone who's having key interest about people's mental health, and then even planning to start a campaign to raise awareness, what's the assurance or what investment are you going to make in mental health? And also, there is this global issue that everywhere they are talking about, that's climate change. What investment is the next government going to make in climate change and then mental health?
Yes, thank you very much. Mental health is a very serious issue. Yes, that's, and I'm very excited about you saying you actually want to take campaigns as far as mental health is concerned. You know, in this part of the world, people think that when you talk about mental health, it just means that you are not in the right frame of mind. But mental health in itself cuts across. People go through some level of depression, people go through some level of, desertion, and that actually affects their mental health. And we have always campaigned that we need to take mental health seriously, especially with our medical facilities. We need to make sure that every medical facility has some mental health department to be able to take care of people's mental health. We don't have to wait until people actually are extremely ill in terms of mental health and we are taking them to either asylum down or Pantine. We need to go into mental health. And you will realize that times past, we try as much as possible to encourage people to assess the counseling system in various universities. And these are policies that the government keeps pushing, that they need to develop counseling sessions, they need to develop counseling departments, not only even at the university level, but down to the secondary school level, because that is where you can actually counsel people to be able to have them stable so far as their mental health is concerned. We don't have to wait for people to get to the extreme, then we are now taking them to rehab.
Let's move to climate change.
Climate change. The issue of climate change has to do with we protecting the environment. Then I would have to now dovetail into the issues of Galamsey. You cannot be pretending to be planting trees. At the end of the day, you are in the forest mining. I mean, who are we deceiving? And that is currently what we are going through as a country. People pretend to plant thousands of trees today. The next day, they are in the forest.
But the issue of Galamsey didn't start.
No, but I'm coming to it. No, the issue of Galamsey, but we have tried as much as possible. We have fought Galamsey openly. We have said that we need to.
And you did not succeed.
we still fought Galamsey. They still fought Galamsey.
Were you able to prosecute anyone?
Galamsey, we tried as much as possible to stop Galamsey. We tried as
Were
much
you
as
able to
possible
prosecute anyone?
Prosecution of people, I do not want to say what I don't have facts to. I would not want to speak on that. But the issue of Galamsey, you see, the government in itself needs to be at the forefront of the fight against Galamsey. If you have government actors, if you have government appointees, if you have people very close to government, themselves partaking or being actively involved in the issues of Galamsey, and within a split of a moment, there's another 360-10 to try as much as possible to pretend to be fighting Galamsey. You cannot pretend to be safeguarding.
But John Mahama says he's going to give those who have been Galamseys who have been jailed. He said he's going to give them amnesty.
Yes.
So how are you going to solve that
Thank you for asking that question. The NPP have tried as much as possible to twist that statement. John Mahama said, and listen to me carefully, he said that in this fight against Galamsey, the young people out there who are just laborers trying to make means or trying to make a means for themselves, who go out there and work as laborers and earn maybe 100 cedis a day, 200 cedis a day, when there is a raid of a Galamsey site, they are the ones who end up in jail. However, the kingpins, such as Aisha Wang and the people in government, like some government officials,
have any proof?
Who are out there. Oh, but their regional chairman, MPP regional chairman, was in the forest illegally mining, and the president came out to clear him. These are all facts. The regional chairman, MPP regional chairman for Ashanti region, he was in the forest in the western region mining illegally. And this was a letter actually came from Forestry Commission, but later the president came out to clear him. So do not go out there and arrest the young people who are out there trying to make a means for themselves and leave out the kingpins. So when I come into power, the young people out there, like a young man at the age of 18 who is at a Galamsey site trying to make means, and at the end of the day, they arrest him. He is the person we are going to let go. But the kingpin himself, who buys the excavators, they are the ones we should go after, and not the innocent young people out there that are just trying to make ends meet. That was a statement he made, not to say that he's promoting Galamsey, but the young people out there who are trying to make ends meet, who have been arrested by these activities of kingpins and big wigs within the NPP.
If you make ends meet through crime and you're arrested, do you think you should be given amnesty?
No, nobody is saying they should give it. Nobody is saying we should promote crime. You understand? But even people in Sawam sometimes are given amnesty. And this is a menace we are trying to fight. So let's try to forgive the first offenders, and let's also use them as an example to go out there and propagate the good works that we need to protect the environment.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, Hyde.
Right, thank you very much. I think that the question on climate and then psychiatric issues are very important. More often than not, when we talk about matters of psychiatry, everybody is looking at maybe Ankaful or let's say the one around Adenta. But I think it goes beyond that. Even as young people, our exposure on the internet, the things we are consuming, is causing a lot of depression among our colleagues. If you go to the University of Ghana and other high schools, you see a lot of these things. Sometimes all people need. So there's the need for, periodic engagement and then some sensitization of our exposure and all that. But beyond that, looking at mental health proper, I think that the government has also made a number of interventions. Today, as I speak to you, the government has commissioned a mental health department at Kolebu at the Melody building, which the president commissioned. Then, of course, there's also the construction which is ongoing in the north of a psychiatric hospital. This is meant that you don't have to transport somebody all the way from the north to access psychiatric health care. Today is being provided closer to us so that beyond providing the physical healthcare needs of people with psychological needs and psychiatry, there's also the need for us to also look at the human interaction aspect where students and other young people can access some conversation and need someone to talk to. And then, of course, the issue about climate. I think it is important for us to emphasize that climate change doesn't have colors or issues that affect the environment. It doesn't even have borders. So something can happen in Ivory Coast and it can affect Ghanaians. It is my considered view that Galamsey is not an issue independent of its own. Today, we are fortunate to have a vibrant Minister of Lands who has been planting each and every year. The media has also been part of it and creating a lot of sensitization. It is different if there was nothing like that at all. there's a genuine challenge that indeed some aspects or some unscrupulous persons are destroying our environment. But today we are planting a number of trees, which is a good step. And you come to specifically the issue about the fight against Galamsey. I think this government has done so well in the fight against Galamsey, except that, I mean, it's not an easy fight. Even today, our police are chasing after armed robbers, but people are still committing robbery. I think there's a need for us to, continue and ensure.
All right.
But we also not forget that we need to ask for better accountability. The challenge where a government is fighting Galamsey, then there are NDC national officers, including the president. It is only President Mahama who every day has to speak for somebody to come and interpret further what he was trying to say. He said he was going to give people amnesty. Other MDC officers like Obribuahin has gone to the villages and be telling them, forget your mom, because there's no denying that indeed Galamsey is a problem. And we must all accept that Galamsey is a problem. If it must stop, whether you are MPP, you are NDC, we must stop it. Because when the last tree dies, the last man dies. So we are all responsible for protecting the environment. And that is what this government has committed in doing. A number of interventions have been started from previous government which failed. But today, as I speak to you, the districts are pushing, the security services are all on grounds, ensuring that we are protecting our forests and ensuring that our Galamsey zones are not polluting our water bodies.
Right. Esther. Question.
Okay, so my question is on illegal mining. What measures are put in place to address issues concerning illegal mining? Because it has resulted in land degradation and pollution of water bodies and degradation of deforestation. And this, I think, was it last year or so, there was this thing like Green Ghana. But we should rather find ways to stop illegal mining before we bring the solution of Green Ghana, that's planting of trees. So what are the measures put in place to stop illegal mining?
Any other question on illegal mining? So that we take everything and then move to another sector.
With regards to what my sister said, the issue of illegal mining is something that we should sit and then address it well. Because when you come to my village, Konongo Dumasi, there is this instance that people are mining in water bodies. And where, at the start of this Green Ghana project, trees that were planted are now being cut down to mine. So what are we going to do about it?
Okay, cool.
You see, the illegal mining issue is not only destroying our river bodies and then our land, it's also affecting the health of the people in those areas. Some people give birth to children and they are deformed as a result of the chemicals that are used to mine these minerals. And mind you, the water bodies flow. They are not stagnant. And so if at this point we are not addressing them because they are not near our cities and all of that, it will get to a point where you open your tap, then you see dirty water coming filled with chemicals, and it will affect all of us. So I think we shouldn't only look at it destroying our land and our river bodies, but our health and our future generation. If we are going to continue this, then we should expect giving birth to babies without hands, with two heads, and all of that. All deformities alike. So I want them to address that too.
Yeah, you do have a question about that. All right. Hyde, take us away.
Yes. Then again, I share in the concern of my colleagues. I mean, illegal mining is illegal. We shouldn't condone it because it destroys the environment. But you see, one of the reasons why we incarcerate people or put people behind cells is to serve as a deterrence for others. And so I would have wished that a responsible President Mahama would have waited to come into power, maybe God knows how long, so that when he comes, he does engagement before he probably implements a pardon strategy. But when you give people a certain mindset that, when I come, I'm going to free everybody, it will even influence other people who are not doing Galamsey to even go and do it with the belief that someday there's a potential that somebody will free them. I think that it is irresponsible on the part of political leadership to have even given something like that such a thought. That notwithstanding, I think that measures which are being taken, such as the Greening Ghana initiative, which is seeking to bring back some of our forest cover which has been depleted, it is important. Then there's also the sensitization. However, we also cannot discount the fact that sometimes the economic benefit of some of these things is also enough to cause people to go the extra mile to still want to do it, irrespective of the deterrence. And so therefore, we need to keep encouraging the security services and be supporting them. The media plays a crucial role. The more attention, and even this discussion we are having, it is enlightening others about the effect that Galamsey is having on our environment. But I think that we should all be responsible and ensure that persons do not at least go onto the water bodies. I know until recently, in recent times, the ministerial committee, which was disbanded, effectively created a buffer where people are not allowed to go and mine even closer to the river bodies. But of course, in every society, there are still unscrupulous people who, under the cover of darkness, can go into some of these water bodies. We need to keep prosecuting these people so that it will serve as a deterrence for other people who would want to continue some of these things. There's also the aspect that we need to, the last bit that I want to clarify. There's a difference between legal mining and illegal mining. Mining is allowed in Ghana, provided it is legal. It is matters of illegal or unregulated mining which is causing a lot of the harm. And so we need to ensure that the regulatory framework, which the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and all the agencies under it, should be empowered to continue making sure that people who are within the sector are being policed each and every day. Matters of, let's say, people who take bribes and other things from independence days continue to exist. I think that all these people must be brought to book. I lastly want to say that we shouldn't have leadership saying or giving people the mind that there's a possibility or a potential for them to go free by destroying our environment.
Osman?
The issue of illegal mining is one that I am so passionate about, and I sometimes get emotional when I have to speak on the issues of illegal mining because I see beautiful forests being destroyed. I see the color of water change. If any one of you has traveled to Takoradi, I think there's this river between Cape Coast and Takoradi, or that when you're entering Takoradi, it's actually brown, like Milo.
Yeah, and Shama. You can actually see a brown sea.
Yes, and sometimes it flows into the sea, and you realize that, it's getting brown. That is unacceptable, irrespective of whose ox is gone. So we need to tackle the issue of illegal mining as a menace that government is actually interested in fighting. We have said time without number that we need to regulate the way in which mining is being done, be it small-scale mining, be it community mining, be it even large-scale mining. And that is why we're saying that we're going to empower the Minerals Commission beyond just the head office in Accra and some regional office, all the way to the district level and to the district assemblies, to be able to tackle all these mining activities and regulate them properly. The same with the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, have to be empowered all the way to the district level. And of course, the DISEC, which is the District Security Committee, they are at the ground, they are on the ground, and they understand whatever happens within their local communities. And any government official who is even suspected to be engaged in illegal mining would be sacked as soon as possible and prosecuted.
That's your policy?
Yes, that's our policy. We are going to make sure we're going to fight illegal mining to the end.
You sack any government official involved in illegal mining?
Who is involved in illegal mining will be sacked. You see, when you have the head interested in fighting a menace, then it means that at the end of the day, everybody will fall in line. But when you realize that even at the helm of affairs, at the Jubilee House, people who are mining illegally are there, then you realize that it's very difficult to fight illegal mining. Not to cut you, but we
had a president who actually put his presidency on the line, but our water body is still brown. How are you going to do that?
That is because even within the presidency, they set up what they call the Interministerial Committee Against Mining, and they had what they call Galam Stop. And we all saw what happened. People were taking bribe on on camera. People were taking bribe on camera. At the end of the day, excavators, they said they had seen some got missing. How can an excavator get missing? At the end of the day, people said they were actually paying to go back and mine. So you realize that the corruption was deeply rooted, even at the presidency. And it's not something that we all can run away from. And if you have your own party officials, your party functionaries, your party leaders engage in illegal mining, and you have the president himself come out and clear people who agencies have said are involved in illegal mining, then realize that the person is not interested in fighting illegal mining. He's actually complicit so far as illegal mining is concerned.
Well, let's go to our WhatsApp console and then read some messages coming through. This one says, hi, my name is Bernard. There has been a report that over 1.6 9 million people in Ghana who are uneducated, unemployed, and are not in trading. So I want to know the policy. I think we did that at the first start of the program. It says the NPP government has done well introducing the free SHS program, and I'm sure that Hyde will be smiling. But there are some people who, after completing SHS, their parents cannot afford tertiary education, which I am a victim of. So what measures are going to be put in place for us to get scholarships without paying anything or having connections before you will be granted? My name is Bernard again. I think let's take some few reactions on this, messages, and then we'll go to our last segment, which is energy.
Yes, I personally petitioned the Office of Special Prosecutor so far as the Scholarship Secretariat scandal was concerned. If you remember, there was an issue with Scholarship Secretariat where young people had to pay bribes of a certain percentage to access scholarship, where some individuals actually got scholarship by virtue of the fact that they were the second lady's aide and family members. In fact, that was the second lady's younger brother, where they got a scholarship, they got the stipends, they didn't go to the school, they were still in Accra here, they said they were sick, but they never went to school, and they never refunded any of those funds, where you have government appointees actually take 2 scholarships. So the person went for the first one, came back and went for the second one. And you see a clear abuse of power and a clear abuse of what was meant for young people like Eugenia and her friends. Scholarship meant for them, young people who are unable to pay for those scholarships. So that is why you realize the person actually stressed on the fact that how can they access scholarships? By virtue of the fact that they are not connected or they do not have the money to pay to anybody. And I'm assuring them that under the NDC government, the scholarships will be awarded to brilliant and needy students. If you are able to prove the point that, yes, I am brilliant, I need to go out and study, and also I am unable to pay for my education, you will be given the scholarship.
Okay.
Also, it's not just for you to go out and do any program, but you should be able to go out and do a program that is not being currently studied in Ghana. So if maybe you want to go and study maybe MSc or LLM in a course that is being studied in University of Ghana, of course, we would think that it is better for you to study in Ghana than for the government to pay for you to go and study another program in another country that is already being studied in Ghana. It will not be given out by virtue of the fact that you are MPP or NDC. That is how the next NDC administration will give it out to young people who are eligible, who need it, and who have to go out and study. Unlike what is currently happening with the Scholarship Secretary.
You see, sometimes, that's my difficulty with my brother Osman. He's speaking as though they've never been in government. I think we should realize something. They were in government too. They created a whole mess. And then the people said, go away. So what my expectation is that there's a certain admission on their part that, okay, when we were in government, we got A, B, C, D wrong. Having learned our lessons, having identified our shortfalls, these are the measures we have put in place in order to correct the wrongs that we experienced.
Okay.
Because under their government, they awarded scholarships to senior party officers. The likes of the chairman, the now chairman, Asiedun Kitia, his children were beneficiaries. The Awoi brothers, they had scholarships. We've all been fighting against this thing. It is a problem, irrespective of political colors. When it comes to matters of education, I don't like to play politics with it. Otherwise, we would have gone into the number of e-blocks he touted as they've been built. But at the end of the day, only about 20 of them were commissioned. But that is not the conversation. The conversation is that this is an issue that affects young people. And for us, all of us have to be holistic about it. I think that issues about scholarship are a comprehensive conversation that we need to have. I agree that awarding scholarship to people to go and study courses which are already studied here is wrong. We must seek to empower and build capacity in Ghana so that people can study here. It goes without saying that under this government, we have awarded more scholarships than any other governments in history. Today, as I speak to you, the Scholarship Secretariat has awarded over 100,000 Ghanaian people with scholarships. The conversation as to whether some people deserve it or not is another thing. But I understand what is fundamental is about availability, that Ghanaians are benefited. GNPC Foundation, which under NDC, were regulating, our oil and other things. A number of people are in Accra and they don't even know what our oil money is used for. But under NPP, the GNPC Foundation set up the scholarship department. And today, all of you may have heard about GNPC scholarships. somebody sat down and decided that we need to make sure that the Ghanaian students also benefit. So indeed, yes, scholarships are getting out there. We need to regulate it, and NPP is the best to give.
Thank you. Right. Yeah.
All right. So we are heading to the energy sector. Questions, please. All right. Erica.
Okay, so looking at the time Ghana started using hydroelectric power, the population was about 6 million, but now we are over 30 million, looking at the population right now. So I don't want it to be partisan here. Let's try to deal with it as Ghanaians. So it's not a problem if there are challenges. But then what have we learned? Because I've realized 2 major doomsaw issues in Ghana here. So we've seen it twice. Is there anything we are doing about it to make sure it doesn't happen for the 3rd time?
All right. Is there more on the situation?
Questions on energy? Doomsaw? That's our last segment. So if you have any questions,
it was actually related to what Erica said.
Okay.
Mostly what I've realized is that when it comes to during election here, like we experience a lot of doomsaw, and then this doomsaw is mostly accompanied by annoyance because we pay for electricity and then we are not getting light. It's really annoying. So I would like to know the causes and what they are doing about it.
Okay. Niai.
All right.
You, the Niai.
I'll speak about what she said. I'll add more to what she said. So it's about the sustainability of the energy policies, right? Because under both governments, we've seen the same issues happening over and over again. So what's the long-term plan to practically deal with it? Not just put some, play some hanky-panky games, then it will come back again. To practically deal with, because doomsaw is serious. It's causing businessmen and women huge losses. It's causing serious damage. And so what's the practical policies that will be put in place for the next 20 years? What are we doing to ensure what solar panels are we building? What is the plan?
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Niai.
My own has to do with the increment of fuel prices in the country.
Okay.
I know it's not directly government who increases the fuel prices, but from the global markets. But I know we as a country, or our leaders can do something about it. So what is their plan about the increment in fuel prices in the country?
All right, Dorcas.
I think as much as the energy sector is important, it's also important for us to know what you plan doing about the buying of votes as we are heading towards election.
Okay.
We want to see transparency this year. What is your policy for that? Thank you.
And then finally, Joseph.
This would disturb me if it's not addressed. Please, this issue about spending discipline or fiscal discipline of government.
Okay.
Sometimes the government allocates huge sums of money for projects, and it's our taxes. It's like we can't trust the government with our money anymore. You see them allocating huge budgets, then the projects are left uncompleted.
Okay.
The money is swept under the carpet. You don't hear any accountability about it again. So about spending discipline, we want the government to enjoy from the projects they are putting up. And we want them to be completed. They shouldn't be left halfway, and then the money shouldn't be wasted.
All right.
So Osman and Hyde, this is the last segment. I mean, there are questions around energy, fuel prices.
I don't know how many minutes you're going to give us.
Both by transparency, and then also the last one has to do with fiscal discipline. So I think that this is the last segment, so try and please be snappy.
Wow, there's so many questions. I'm sure you have to give me some time to.
Okay, you all have to.
Because they are very, very germane questions, and very interesting points they raise. The issue of energy. You see, there's this popular saying that you cannot give what you don't have. And for you to be able to give something, you need to have to be able to give. Now, the issue of energy basically has to do with generation capacity. And you see, what you need to understand is that population is growing at an alarming rate. So you need to expand everything, you need to develop everything also at an alarming rate. The past years, we experienced doomsaw between the years of 2012, 2013, 14, and that had to do with generation capacity. At the time, what we had was just a generation capacity of about 2,185 megawatts of generation capacity. That's if you take Akosombo and Pong and other thermal plants together, we had about 2,000 megawatts. Then our peak demand had exceeded what we could generate. then there was Dumso. So at the time, and to be able to generate energy, you require so much time. It takes about 4 or 5 years to put together a hydro dam or solar panels, putting it together. So then John Dramani Mahama at the time, who had inherited a problem that was not caused by him, because if previous governments at the time, before we took over, had put together a conscious plan to even generate some megawatts on year-by-year basis, Dumso wouldn't have happened in the year 2014. But as a responsible president, he took responsibility for every action of Dumso. Then he said that we were going to embark on an ambitious plan to increase our generation capacity to 5,000 megawatts.
Currently, you have 5,000, more than 5,000 megawatts. That's your generation capacity.
No, initially we had 2,000. Initially we had. But let's do the generation that we come to. Yes.
How are you going to solve it?
What you need to understand is that we were somewhere before we got to where we are.
You're now above 5,000.
Yes, that's what I want them to understand. Yeah. We had generation capacity of 2,000, but of course, dependable capacity cannot be exactly 2,000. I mean, it's like a car. They tell you that the speedometer has...
No, I'm saying that now you have generation capacity of more than 5,000 megawatts.
Yes.
Current dependable capacity is around 3,000, more than 3,000 megawatts. There's still a gap of more than 2,000 megawatts. How are we going to solve that? Especially when you've made about 60% of our energy based on thermal. So it means that days that we don't have dollars to buy fuel and other things, we sleep in doom. So how are you going to solve that?
Yes, so there's the issue of, let's even deal with the generation first. Then we can now move forward to dependable. So we have increased the generation from 2,000 to 5,000.
So going forward, what are we doing?
Yes, going forward. It has to do with what we can have in terms of dependable power. We have stated time without number. Example, with the Ghana Gas project, which was our baby, and which we tell that we can use that gas to also power most of the plants. That was supposed to also save this country some forex. Because every year we needed to purchase gas in
about $1 billion.
About $1 billion. Currently, the Ghana Gas project is saving us about $300 million that would have to go and...
So briefly wrap up on the vote buying. And
so the issue of power generation is one that the NDC has a track record of solving Dumso. Currently, you are not experiencing Dumso in huge occurrences because the NDC put in place the structures, they put in place the facilities, we put in place the plans for you to be able to enjoy the
vote buying. Very important one. Vote buying.
The issue of vote buying. I believe that for every political party, you need to go out there and sell your message. You need to go out there and tell the good people what you want to do, what you can do, what you have done, and what you think is good for the country at that material moment. The NDC currently is not in a position to buy votes, because for you to buy votes, you need resources to buy votes. They are currently in the position to buy votes. And we accuse them of vote buying when all of a sudden you realize that they say, oh, we are implementing laptops for students. All of a sudden,
when you were in power, did you buy votes? Since
we never bought votes. We even started the distribution of laptops in the second year of our government. You can check it. We started the one student, one laptop, every student uniform, the school uniform for all students. We started the sandals for all students, the basic school, etc., etc. And most of these projects were not done in the election year. But when you start implementing programs, in a rush, in an election year, then it becomes vote buying. All of a sudden, they've started trying to buy votes again by implementing the national service, 6 months national service for people, extension for people who would want to do it. And you realize that what the people need is sustainable employment. Vote buying in the last 6 months of an election year will not help you.
Osman,
so I also entreat on the young people out there that as a government, they will come to buy your votes. They will come with all manner of gifts. But be careful. You may just enjoy that gift for 6 months and suffer for the next 4 years.
Let's go to
Do not be led by the vote buying.
Yeah. I don't know why the NDC is so comfortable telling lies. They can reinvent themselves. Like, I mean, I'm gobsmacked sitting here. See, down memory lane, in 2008, 2007 to 2008, we had an energy challenge. The Akosumo Dam, which was a bulwark of our energy mix, had a water level shortfall. The government at the time put in place immediate mechanisms and introduced the mine reserve plans so that our mining companies will be put on a different grade, which doesn't affect the national grid. The government of the day introduced the construction of the Bui Dam, which today is giving us about 400 megawatts. The government of the day retrofitted Akosombo after this challenge to increase it from 900 to over 1,000 megawatts of power. What did the NDC do when they came? They came and sat aloof. Today, he's taking a swipe at President Mills that he inherited an energy challenge. When President Mills came into power in 2009, the energy challenge had been solved. The NDC sat down. It's Excellency John Mahama, who even created me, you and I. He even created Adam because he solves every problem. He's knowledgeable about everything. He came to inherit an energy challenge. Today, as I speak to you, you may have experienced some brief dooms or you think you haven't seen anything yet. We sat in it for 4 good years under NDC. Under NDC, Doomso, when you are going home, you will be calling to find out if there is light. Most of these people do not know this. We need to tell them about it. Perhaps we need to shoot a documentary and tell them what their parents have been through. How many coal stores were made to collapse under these people's guard. Today it talks about a solution. It's as though the Ghanaian people have been done a favor. Oh, we came to inherit a problem, we solved it.
What are you going to do, Hyde?
What matters is that today, as I speak to you, somebody asked a question about the environment.
Yeah.
The cost of running under thermal plants is very expensive, and that is what keeps affecting the cost of energy.
Yeah.
The energy mix is also very important while safeguarding the environment. And that is why today, if you go to Bui, there's the largest solar structures that we have in West Africa, which has been built by this government. Today, as I speak to you, there's the introduction. The government has also mooted the idea that we should introduce buses which are electricity formatted so that you don't have to be spending more money. I think that collectively we are responsible, but telling lies to the people is not a way to go.
Last one, vote buying. Yeah.
Vote buying. Well, I don't know the definition or how my brother understands vote buying. Government responsibility does not cease simply because there's an election. I think that we have a job to do and we are delivering on our mandate. The issue about vote buying, for me, my understanding is that it's clearly trading something off for you to vote for the person. If a student deserves laptop because the world is changing, if you say that you are going to ensure people to code, how are they going to code when they are learning in classroom with stones? They need the laptops, they need the materials in order to study. So that is not vote buying. Vote buying is going into the villages and giving them Maggie cubes and telling them that when we come, we are going to build you castles in the villages. I don't think that the MPP is doing that. The NDC is already on ground, so we are aware. We are waiting for them. The time will come. Thank you.
All right, so Kofi, this has been quite a lengthy conversation, but I hope that our first-time voters have gotten what they want, and we also hope that the politicians in here have also heard the cries of the youth. As you know, we are preparing our manifestos, or as they're about to outdoor their manifestos, we hope that they take what these youth have said into consideration, and we hope that you, yes, the first-time voters here in studio and out there, have also had your answers, and we hope that whatever you heard here will help shape your decision on who you decide to vote for come election to December 2024. But yes, this is how we wrap up, Kofi. Before we leave, let's say thank you to the people who held us down. Without them, we wouldn't have had this conversation we've had here. So let me say a very big thank you to Youth Bridge Foundation. And let me also say a very, very big thank you to SEMA, to AICPA as well, to the German Ozone Medical Center. Let's say a thank you to Petrosol. Obviously, without them, we wouldn't be having this conversation as well. And finally, to Showbox Technologies for holding us down. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. We've had a great conversation. We will be going back onto the street like we always do. I always say that until they see me in my area, I just turned 18. And we are going to continue speaking to first-time voters all across the country, finding out the pertinent issues that will influence their decision in the voting booth. So, Kofi.
Learning that, I mean, your next episode will be on KIAs.
Yes, on KIAs. We're going to be talking about the free SHS policies with the KIAs and also day-to-day living of a normal KIO on the streets. So,
all right.
Yes.
So, Osman and Hyde, it's been great having you in studio, and I'm sure that first-time voters, they've had answers, they've laughed as well. I mean, and thank you very much for coming. We are really grateful that you joined this national dialogue. Viewers, thank you for staying with us. It's a wrap on Just Turned 18 National Dialogue.
My name is Lois Shola. I didn't do this alone. I did this with
Isaac Kofi Ejay.
And we'll see you same time, another time.
Bye.